The blade came down fast, too fast, for thinking only for moving. Marcus's 12-year-old hands shot up, and he felt the hot sting slice across his palm before his brain could catch up with what he'd just done. The girl behind him screamed. Blood dripped onto the convenience store floor, mixing with spilled energy drinks and his own racing heartbeat. He'd been invisible for 4 days straight, sleeping in dumpsters, dodging cops, hiding from a world that didn't want to see a small black kid with nowhere to go. Now, standing between a meth head's knife and a stranger, he was the most visible he'd ever been. Before we continue, please hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the end of this story. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far Marcus's story travels. Now let's go back to where it all started. 4 days earlier, Marcus Thompson had made himself a promise. Don't look anyone in the eye, don't ask for anything, and whatever you do, don't let them send you back. He was good at being invisible, had been practicing it for years in his own house. The Bakersfield night was cold enough to see his breath, and Marcus pulled his thin hoodie tighter as he crouched behind the dumpster at the Chevron station. His stomach had stopped growling hours ago, which he knew wasn't a good sign. Now it just felt hollow like the rest of him. "Hey! You can't sleep here!" Marcus jerked awake. A flashlight beam hit his face, and behind it a security guard with a belly that hung over his belt. "I wasn't sleeping," Marcus said, automatically already on his feet. "Just tying my shoe." At 2 a.m, the guard moved closer. "Where are your parents, kid?" Marcus's heart slammed against his ribs. "My dad's in the truck." He pointed vaguely toward the parking lot. "Bathroom." The guard's eyes narrowed. "Which truck?" But Marcus was already moving, ducking under the man's arm and running. His worn-out sneakers slapped against the pavement as he sprinted across the lot, past the sleeping semis, past the no loitering sign, past the point where the lights ended and the dark began. He didn't stop until his lungs burned and his legs shook. Only then did he lean against a chain-link fence, gasping, checking over his shoulder. No one followed. They never did. He wasn't worth the effort. Marcus dug into his pocket and pulled out what was left of his money. $18.37. 4 days ago, he'd had 42. The math was simple and terrifying. His phone buzzed, the prepaid one he'd bought at Walmart before running. One message from Keisha. "Where are you? Dontrell asked about you. I told him you at Grandma's. Please come back. I'm scared." Marcus's throat tightened. Keisha was 8, and she'd already learned to lie to protect him. Their mama's boyfriend, Dontrell, had fists like hammers and a temper that needed no excuse. Last week, he'd thrown Marcus into the kitchen cabinet so hard the wood splintered. The week before that, he'd held Marcus's head underwater in the bathtub until black spots danced in his vision. "Teaching you respect," Dontrell had said. Marcus had learned something, all right. He'd learned that some promises you make to yourself are about survival. He typed back with shaking fingers. "Stay in your room when he's drinking. Hide in the closet if you have to. He'll come back for you, I promise." The message sat there unread. Keisha's phone was probably dead again. Dontrell didn't believe in wasting electricity charging kids' phones. Marcus shoved his phone away and started walking. No destination, just movement. That's what the last 4 days had been: constant motion. Because staying still meant thinking, and thinking meant feeling, and feeling meant breaking down in a way he couldn't afford. The truck stop rose ahead like an oasis of light. Through the windows, Marcus could see families eating, truckers gulping coffee, normal people living normal lives. A little girl, maybe 6, pressed her face against the glass, laughing at something her father said. Marcus turned away. Watching hurt too much. "Spare any change?" An old man sat against the building cardboard sign propped beside him. His face was weathered like old leather, and his eyes were milky with cataracts. "I don't have anything," Marcus said, which was almost true. "Neither do I." The man laughed, a rattling sound. "You running from something or to something, boy?" Marcus didn't answer. He'd learned that adults who asked questions usually wanted something. "I was about your age when I first ran," the old man continued anyway. "Thought I could outrun my problems. Took me 40 years to figure out they just followed me around like a hungry dog." "I'm not running," Marcus said. "Sure you're not." The man's smile showed missing teeth. Word of advice, though, when you're invisible, you got to be careful. World has a way of stepping on things it doesn't see. Marcus walked away, but the words stuck to him like tar. By 11:30 p.m., the rain started. Not the gentle kind, but the angry sideways kind that soaked through clothes in seconds. Marcus ran for the nearest overhang, a 24-hour convenience store called Quick Stop with a broken Q in the sign. He stood outside for 10 minutes watching through the window. The clerk was a middle-aged white woman with blonde hair piled high and fingernails so long they clicked against the register. She looked up, saw Marcus, and her hand moved to the phone. Marcus knew that gesture, had seen it 100 times. He pushed through the door anyway. Warm air hit him like a wall, and he had to stop himself from sighing with relief. "We're not a shelter," the clerk said immediately. Her name tag read Debbie. "I know, I'm just buying something." Marcus pulled out $2. "Coffee, small." Debbie watched him like he might bolt with the merchandise. "Coffee's $2.50 with tax." Marcus's face burned. "I'll get a small water then." $1.29. He paid, took his bottle, and moved to the corner near the window. The water was cold and made his empty stomach cramp, but at least he was inside. At least the rain couldn't touch him here. That's when he noticed her. The girl stood by the refrigerators, maybe 16, with dark hair pulled back tight and a leather jacket that looked expensive. Not regular expensive, the kind of expensive that meant something. Patches covered the back, though Marcus couldn't read them from this angle. But it was her face that caught him. The way her eyes kept darting to the door. The way her shoulders hunched forward like she was trying to make herself smaller. The way her hands shook when she reached for a soda, then put it back. Marcus recognized that look. He wore it every day. The girl pulled out her phone, typed something fast, waited. Her jaw clenched when no response came. She tried again. Still nothing. "You buying that or just looking?" Debbie called from behind the counter. The girl jumped. "Just looking. Sorry." She moved toward the chips, and Marcus saw the back of her jacket clearly now. A skull with wings. Words he could barely make out. Hell's Angels. His pulse quickened. Everyone knew about the Hell's Angels, even kids. They were the bikers who hung around the South Side, the ones people crossed the street to avoid, the ones the news blamed for every crime between here and Fresno. But mostly Marcus had heard they were dangerous. The girl didn't look dangerous. She looked scared. The door chimed, and Marcus's instincts, the ones he'd honed living with Dontrell, screamed at him to pay attention. Two men walked in. The first was tall and thin, with a patchy beard and a baseball cap pulled low, dirty jeans jacket with too many pockets, hands that wouldn't stay still. The second man was shorter, stocky, with a neck tattoo that crept above his collar. Marcus had seen men like this before. Men who moved wrong, looked wrong, smelled wrong. Men whose presence changed the air pressure in a room. "Evening, gentlemen," Debbie said, her voice suddenly cheerful and tight. The tall one didn't acknowledge her. His eyes locked on the girl by the chips. Marcus's stomach dropped. The girl hadn't noticed yet. She was still looking at her phone, typing furiously. The tall man moved closer, casual, like he was browsing. But Marcus could see the intent in every step. Nobody else was in the store. Just Debbie, Marcus, the girl, and these two men. The shorter man positioned himself by the door, blocking it. Marcus's heart hammered. This wasn't random. This was planned. The tall man was 3 feet from the girl now, 2 feet. Marcus stood up. His legs felt like water. "Looking for someone, Lily," the tall man said. The girl spun around and her face went white. "Jake, I don't have it. Your daddy said he'd pay by Tuesday. Tuesday was yesterday. He's getting it together, I swear. Just give him." "Can't do that." Jake smiled, and it was the worst thing Marcus had ever seen. "See, my boss doesn't like excuses. He likes results." "Please." Lily's voice cracked. "I don't have anything to do with his business." "Yeah, you do. You're his daughter. That makes you leverage." Jake's hand went to his belt, and Marcus saw the knife handle. Debbie had her phone out, but her hands were shaking too hard to dial. The shorter man at the door pulled his jacket back, showing his own weapon, a gun tucked into his waistband. Marcus's mind went blank. Then it went to Keisha, to the closet where she hid when Dontrell got mean. to the promises he'd made that he might never get to keep. He thought about the old homeless man's words. When your invisible world has a way of stepping on things it doesn't see. And he thought, maybe it's time to be seen. "Hey," Marcus said. His voice came out smaller than he wanted, but it carried. Jake turned, and the knife was fully visible now, 6 inches of steel that caught the fluorescent light. "Store's closed, kid. Get out." "No, it's not." Marcus's mouth was dry. "Sign says 24 hours. Jake's eyes narrowed. "You want to be a hero? I want you to leave her alone." "Marcus, don't," Lily said, her voice sharp with panic, but Marcus was already moving. Not toward Jake, he wasn't stupid, but toward the shelf display between them. His hand closed around a can of soup. "Kid, I will gut you," Jake said, taking a step forward. "Debbie, call 911, Marcus said loud enough for everyone to hear. Jake's head whipped toward the clerk, and that's when Marcus threw the soup can. It hit Jake in the chest, not hard enough to hurt, but hard enough to surprise. Jake stumbled backward, cursing, and Marcus grabbed Lily's arm. "Run!" They bolted for the door, but the shorter man was there, gun coming up. Marcus didn't think. He just acted. His small body barreled into the man's legs, all 78 pounds of him, and they went down together in a tangle of limbs. Pain exploded in Marcus's side as the man's elbow connected with his ribs. "Get off me, you little—" Lily kicked the man in the head, her heavy boot connecting with a solid thunk. He went limp. But Jake was there, knife raised, face twisted with rage. "You're dead, kid." The blade came down. Marcus threw his hands up, instinct not strategy, and felt fire across his palm as the knife sliced through skin muscle down to something that might have been bone. He screamed. Blood poured between his fingers, hot and fast and wrong. Jake pulled back for another strike, and Marcus knew with perfect clarity that he was about to die on a convenience store floor, 12 years old, alone except for a girl he didn't know. Then Debbie's voice cut through everything. "Police are on the way. I got you on camera." Jake hesitated. Just a second. Just long enough. Lily grabbed a bottle of wine from the shelf and smashed it over Jake's head. Glass and liquid exploded. Jake dropped like a stone, blood mixing with wine. Sirens wailed in the distance. The shorter man groaned, trying to get up. Lily kicked him again. Marcus collapsed against the counter, his hands screaming, vision going spotty at the edges. He looked down at the wound and immediately wished he hadn't. The cut was deep angry, showing white beneath the red. Oh God, Lily was saying, kneeling beside him. "Why did you do that? Why did you—" "Your jacket," Marcus managed. "Recognized the skull. Thought you were dangerous." Lily laughed, high and hysterical. "Dangerous? I'm a straight-A student who can't even drive yet. My dad's the dangerous one." "Your dad?" "Hell's Angels president, West chapter." She pressed her jacket against his hand, trying to stop the bleeding. Marcus whimpered. He's going to lose his mind when he finds out about this. The sirens were close now, maybe a block away. "Listen," Lily said urgently. "What's your name?" "Marcus." "Marcus, when the cops come, don't run. I'm going to tell them everything. You saved my life." "I'm 12, Marcus said, and suddenly it was important she knew. "I ran away. They'll send me back." "To where?" Marcus just shook his head. Speaking was getting harder. "How old can you pass for?" Lily asked. "What? If you say you're 15, maybe 16, they won't call CPS right away. Can you lie?" Marcus almost laughed. He'd been lying for 4 years straight. "I can lie." "Good. Tell them you're 16. Tell them you're staying with your uncle across town. I'll back up whatever you say." "Why?" Lily looked at him like he'd asked why water was wet. "Because you stepped between me and a knife. Nobody does that. Nobody." The police burst through the door, guns drawn, shouting commands. Marcus let himself sink to the floor, his hand throbbing, his head spinning, and for the first time in 4 days, he let someone else take over. The hospital was too bright and too loud, and Marcus wanted to leave from the moment they wheeled him in. 12 stitches, the doctor said, working on his palm with steady hands. She was an older black woman with gray braids and kind eyes. "You're lucky. Missed the tendons by a millimeter." Marcus didn't feel lucky. He felt exposed. The police had asked questions, so many questions, and he'd stuck to the story. 16 years old, staying with his uncle, happened to be at the store when the attack occurred. The detective had looked skeptical but hadn't pushed. Lily confirmed everything, her voice steady, her lawyer and training skills evident. "Where's this uncle of yours?" the detective had asked. "Working night shift," Marcus said. "At the plant." "Which plant?" "The one off Highway 99. I don't remember the name." The detective had written something down, but an emergency call came through and he'd left promising to follow up. That was 3 hours ago. Now Marcus sat in the ER waiting room, his hand wrapped in pristine white bandages, wondering how long before someone realized he had nowhere to go. Lily had been taken to a separate area for her statement. Her father was on the way, she'd said. She'd tried to call him 6 times during the attack, but he'd been in a club meeting with all phones silenced. Marcus didn't know what that meant, but he knew it probably wasn't good. "Marcus Thompson." A nurse appeared, clipboard in hand. "That's me. Discharge papers are ready. Just need a parent or guardian signature." Marcus's heart sank. "My uncle's still at work." The nurse frowned. "Honey, you're a minor. We can't release you without—" "He's with me." Everyone turned. A man stood in the doorway. Not just any man, a wall of leather, denim, and muscle. He was easily 6'3", with shoulders that could block out the sun, arms covered in tattoos, and a face that looked like it had been in more than a few fights. His beard was thick and gray-streaked, and his eyes, when they landed on Marcus, were sharp enough to cut glass. Behind him, more men filtered in. Leather vests, patches, boots that echoed on the linoleum. 10 of them. 15. 20. Marcus stopped counting. The nurse took a step back. "Sir, I need to see identification proving guardianship." "That's my uncle," Marcus said quickly, the lie tasting like ash. The big man's eyes flickered with something Marcus couldn't read, but he played along. "Traffic was hell. Got here fast as I could." He moved to the desk with surprising grace for someone his size, and signed the papers with a flourish. His hands, Marcus noticed, were scarred and calloused with rings on every finger. "Come on, kid," the man said. "Let's get you home." Marcus stood on shaking legs. Every instinct screamed that this was a bad idea, but what choice did he have? The truth meant CPS, and CPS meant Dontrell's house. He followed the man outside, the other bikers falling in around them like a leather-clad honor guard. The parking lot was full of motorcycles, dozens of them arranged in perfect rows, chrome gleaming under the streetlights. And standing in the middle of it all was Lily, crying and laughing and talking rapidly to a man who could only be her father. When she saw Marcus, she ran over. "You're okay. I was so worried they'd make you leave before—" "Lily." The big man's voice wasn't loud, but it carried authority. "Give us a minute." She stepped back and the man focused his full attention on Marcus. "Name's Ironside Martinez," he said. "President of the Hells Angels West Chapter. And that girl you saved, that's my daughter." Marcus said nothing. His hand throbbed, his stomach cramped, his head spun. "She told me what you did," Ironside continued. "Told me about the knife, about putting yourself between her and 2 armed men. Told me you're not really 16. Marcus's blood went cold. "She also told me," Ironside said slowly, "that you've got nowhere to go." The other bikers had formed a loose circle around them. Their faces were hard to read in the shadows, but Marcus could feel their eyes on him. "I have an uncle," Marcus tried. "No, you don't." Ironside's voice wasn't unkind, just certain. "You ran away from something bad enough to risk living on the streets. And tonight you risked your life for a stranger." "I didn't think about it." "That's what makes it brave." Ironside crouched down so they were eye level. Up close, Marcus could see the scars on his face, the gray in his beard, the weight of years lived hard. "How old are you really?" Marcus looked at Lily, who nodded encouragement. 12. A murmur ran through the assembled bikers. Someone cursed softly. 12, Ironside repeated, "and you went up against a meth head with a knife." "He was going to hurt her." "Yeah, he was." Ironside stood. "Here's what's going to happen. My brother owns a garage in town. He needs an apprentice. Job comes with a room above the shop, 3 meals a day, and a paycheck every Friday." Marcus stared. "What?" "You're also going to enroll in school. My wife will help with that. And every Sunday you're eating dinner at our house." "I don't understand." "It's not complicated, kid. You saved my daughter's life. That makes you family, and Hell's Angels take care of family. But I'm nobody, Marcus said, and his voice broke on the last word. I'm just a kid who ran away. You're the kid who stood up when it mattered. Ironside's hand landed on Marcus's shoulder, heavy but steady. That's not nobody. That's somebody. The other bikers stepped forward one by one, each placing a hand on Marcus's shoulder or back. The weight of them should have been crushing, but instead it felt like the opposite, like they were holding him up. Marcus, who hadn't cried in 4 years, who'd learned that tears meant weakness, and weakness meant pain, felt his eyes burn. I have a sister, he whispered. Keisha, she's 8. I left her. Where? Ironside asked. Marcus gave him the address. Ironside pulled out his phone, dialed, spoke quietly to whoever answered. Yeah, I need a wellness check on a kid, 8 years old. Name's Keisha Thompson. He rattled off the address. Suspected domestic situation. I'll hold. Marcus couldn't breathe. After a minute, Ironside's face darkened. Uh-huh. Yeah, I figured. Send a unit now. Kid stays in protective custody until we figure it out. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up and looked at Marcus. Keisha's safe. They're getting her out tonight. How did you... I've got friends in dispatch. And honey, if your home situation is what I think it is, that little girl shouldn't spend one more night there. Marcus's legs gave out, just buckled. Strong hands caught him before he hit the pavement. Easy, kid, someone said, a biker with a scarred face and gentle hands. You're okay. But Marcus wasn't okay. He was breaking open 4 years of fear and pain and holding it together, spilling out in ugly, gasping sobs. And these men, these dangerous, tattooed, supposedly violent men, held him while he shattered, not saying anything, just being there. Like breakdowns were normal, like falling apart was allowed. When Marcus finally got himself together, his face was sticky with tears and snot, and he was embarrassed beyond belief. Sorry, he mumbled. For what? Ironside asked. For being human. A younger biker with red hair handed Marcus a clean bandana. Keep it, I've got a dozen. Marcus wiped his face and tried to find words that made sense. Why are you helping me? Because someone helped me once, Ironside said. When I was 17, strung out on pills, sleeping in an abandoned house, a Hell's Angel named Bull pulled me out of that life. Gave me a job, gave me purpose, gave me family. I've been paying that forward ever since. Most people wouldn't. Most people aren't Hell's Angels. Ironside's smile was fierce. We're not good guys, kid. Don't get that twisted. We've done things, seen things, been things that would give your teachers nightmares. But we're loyal, and we protect our own. I'm not one of you. You are now. The ride to Ironside's brother's garage happened in a blur of chrome and engine roar that Marcus would later struggle to remember clearly. He sat behind a biker named Tommy, a massive black man with arms like tree trunks, and a laugh that could shake windows, holding on for dear life as 68 motorcycles rolled through Bakersfield at 3 in the morning like a leather-clad army. You good back there, little man? Tommy called over his shoulder. Marcus couldn't answer. His throat was too tight, his hand throbbing in its bandages. His mind stuck on one thing: Keisha was safe. Actually safe. Not hiding in the closet safe or pretending to sleep safe, but removed from the house safe. The bikes pulled into a lot behind a squat building with a faded sign, Martinez Brothers Auto Repair. The engines cut off one by one, and the sudden silence felt louder than the noise had been. Ray, Ironside called out, get out here! A door opened, and a man emerged who looked like Ironside's slightly smaller, slightly less terrifying twin. Same build, same beard, but his eyes were softer, and he wore grease-stained coveralls instead of leather. Jesus, hermano, it's 3 a.m. This better be... Ray stopped when he saw Marcus. Who's the kid? His name's Marcus. He saved Lily tonight. Ray's expression changed instantly. The hell happened? Jake Thornton happened. Had a knife, had backup, had my daughter cornered. Ironside's voice went cold. This kid put himself between them. Ray looked Marcus up and down. How old are you? 12, Marcus said, because apparently that was just his truth now. 12. Ray whistled low. And you went up against Jake Thornton. I didn't know who he was. Probably better that way. Ray wiped his hands on a rag that made them dirtier. You got a place to sleep, Marcus? Marcus shook his head. You do now. Ray pointed to a metal staircase on the building's exterior. Apartment upstairs. Used to be mine before I bought a house. It's small, but it's clean and the heat works. You can stay there. I don't have money for rent. Did I ask for money? Ray's voice was gentle but firm. You'll work for it. I need someone to sweep up, organize tools, help with oil changes. Basic stuff. You'll learn as you go. Marcus's head spun. 6 hours ago, he'd been sleeping behind a dumpster. Now he had a job and an apartment and 68 bikers, acting like this was all perfectly normal. I don't understand why you're doing this, Marcus said. Because Ironside asked me to, Ray said simply. And because my brother doesn't ask for favors unless it matters. If he says you're good people, that's enough for me. A biker with a long ponytail and a scar across his cheek stepped forward. Kid's gonna need clothes. What he's wearing is falling apart. And food, another added. He looks half-starved. School supplies too, said a woman biker Marcus hadn't noticed before. She had short purple hair and kind eyes. Can't start 7th grade without notebooks. I'm not in 7th grade, Marcus said. I should be, but I missed a lot of school. The woman her vest said her name was Razor tilted her head. When's the last time you went? Regular. Maybe 4th grade. After that, it was on and off. Razor pulled out her phone. I'm texting my sister. She's a teacher, does tutoring on the side. We'll get you caught up. I can't pay for a tutor. Good thing I didn't ask you to. Razor's smile was warm. Listen, Marcus, I know this is a lot. I know we're strangers and this probably feels crazy, but here's the thing about Hell's Angels. When we say you're family, we mean it, and family doesn't get left behind. Tommy clapped a hand on Marcus's good shoulder. Come on, little man. Let's see this apartment. The apartment was small, just like Ray promised. One room with a kitchenette, a bathroom barely big enough to turn around in, and a bed that folded down from the wall. But it had a lock on the door, a good solid deadbolt, and that alone made it better than anywhere Marcus had lived in years. Lock works from the inside only, Tommy said, demonstrating. Nobody can get in unless you let them. Not even Ray, not even Ironside. This is your space. Marcus stared at the lock. Why would you give me that kind of privacy? Tommy's face went serious. Because I was 14 when I ran away from my foster home. Took me 3 years of sleeping rough before someone helped me out, and by then I had trust issues that took a decade to unpack. He met Marcus's eyes. You've been through something. We don't know what, and you don't have to tell us. But we know you need space that's yours. So here it is. The apartment had been empty, but within an hour, it wasn't anymore. Bikers came and went like ants, bringing things Marcus didn't ask for and didn't know he needed. Clean sheets that smelled like fabric softener, towels, a coffee maker, microwave meals, a winter coat 3 sizes too big that Razor said he'd grow into, socks, a toothbrush still in the package, shampoo. This is my son's old PlayStation, a biker with gray temples said, setting up the console. He's at college now, doesn't need it. You like video games? Marcus nodded, speechless. Good. Password for the Wi-Fi is on the fridge. The man his vest said. Preach smiled. You need anything, my number's in that phone Ironside gave you. By 4:30 a.m., the apartment looked lived in, and Marcus looked shell-shocked. Everybody out, Ironside ordered. Kid needs sleep. The bikers filed out, each one pausing to ruffle Marcus's hair or squeeze his shoulder or say something encouraging. When the last one left, Ironside lingered in the doorway. You gonna be okay up here by yourself? I've been by myself for 4 days. That's not what I asked. Marcus looked at the bed, the food, the lock on the door. I don't know how to be okay. Fair enough. Ironside pulled a card from his wallet. That's my personal cell. You call if you need anything. Bad dream, panic attack, just feeling scared, doesn't matter. Someone will answer. Why? Because you're 12 and you've been through hell and nobody should go through hell alone. Ironside's voice was rough. My daughter's alive because you were brave when you didn't have to be. Let us be brave for you now." After he left, Marcus stood in the middle of the apartment, turning slowly. The silence felt foreign. No yelling, no bottles breaking, no Dontrell's heavy footsteps in the hallway. His phone buzzed. A text from a number he didn't recognize. "It's Lily. Dad gave me your number. Just wanted to say thank you again. You're the bravest person I've ever met." Marcus sat on the edge of the bed and typed back, "I was just scared." Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do it anyway. He didn't know how to respond to that, so he sent back a thumbs up emoji and immediately felt stupid about it. Another text came through, this one from Ironside. "Keisha's with a crisis counselor. They're taking good care of her. Social worker will contact you tomorrow." Marcus's hands shook as he typed, "Is she okay?" "Shaken up but safe. Dontrell's in custody. He's not getting out anytime soon." The relief that crashed over Marcus was so intense it hurt. He curled up on the bed, still wearing his clothes, still wearing his shoes, and sobbed into the pillow that smelled like laundry detergent and second chances. When he finally slept, it was dreamless. He woke to knocking at 6 a.m. Panicked, he shot upright looking for exits, his heart already racing. "Marcus, it's Ray. I brought breakfast." Marcus unlocked the door, taking comfort in the solid click of the deadbolt, and found Ray holding a bag from McDonald's. "Figured you might be hungry. Got you a couple breakfast burritos, hash browns, and orange juice." Ray set the bag on the tiny counter. "You don't have to eat it all now. Fridge works if you want to save some." Marcus tore into the first burrito like a wild animal. He couldn't help it. Real food, hot food that wasn't stale gas station candy. Ray watched without comment until Marcus slowed down. "When's the last time you ate a full meal?" "I don't know. Week ago, maybe." "Jesus." Ray pulled out his phone. "I'm texting Razor. She's going to make sure you've got 3 squares a day from now on. I can feed myself." "I'm sure you can, but you shouldn't have to worry about it." Ray leaned against the counter. "Listen, here's how this is going to work. You're not an employee. You're 12. That would be illegal. You're an apprentice. You watch, you learn. You help when I tell you to. In exchange, you get room and board and spending money. $20 a week to start." "That's too much." "It's barely anything, but you're 12, so it's what we're doing." Ray's tone left no room for argument. "Garage opens at 7. You don't have to be down there until 8. Use the time to shower, eat whatever you need." After Ray left, Marcus stood under the shower until the water ran cold, watching days of dirt and dried blood swirl down the drain. The stitches in his hand ached, but the doctor had wrapped them in waterproof bandages that held. At 8 a.m. sharp, Marcus walked downstairs into the garage. 3 bays all occupied with vehicles in various states of repair. Ray worked under a Honda Civic, his legs sticking out, tools scattered around him. "There's a broom in the corner," Ray called out without looking. "Start with bay 3. Sweep up the oil dry and metal shavings. Pile it by the back door." Marcus swept. It was mindless work, repetitive, and for the first time in days, his brain had space to think. He thought about Keisha, about whether she was scared or relieved or angry at him for leaving. He thought about his mama who'd chosen Dontrell over her own kids time and time again. He thought about Jake Thornton's knife and how close he'd come to dying on that convenience store floor. "You're thinking too hard," Ray said, rolling out from under the Civic. "I can hear it from here." "Sorry." "Don't apologize. Just talk to me. What's on your mind?" Marcus kept sweeping. "My sister. I left her there with him." "You were 12 years old in an impossible situation. You did what you had to do to survive. She was 8. And now, she's safe." Ray stood wiping his hands. "You can't carry that guilt, kid. It'll eat you alive." "How do you know?" Ray pulled his shirt collar aside, revealing a scar across his collarbone. "My old man gave me that when I was 15. Came at me with a broken beer bottle because I talked back. I had a little brother, Miguel, 10 years old. I left in the middle of the night and didn't take him with me." Marcus stopped sweeping. "What happened to him?" "He stayed in that house for 2 more years before our aunt finally got custody. By then, the damage was done. Took him years of therapy to function." Ray's voice was heavy. "I carried that guilt for a long time. Still do some days." But Miguel told me something once that stuck. He said, "You couldn't save me because you were drowning too. Can't pull someone out of the water when you're underwater yourself." I should have been stronger. You were 12. You are 12. Ray's eyes were fierce. Stop expecting yourself to be Superman. You're a kid who survived, and that's enough. The morning passed in a rhythm Marcus found comforting. Sweep organized tools, watch Ray work, learn the names of parts he'd never heard of. Ray explained everything patiently, never making Marcus feel stupid for not knowing. At noon, a woman arrived with lunch. She was small and round with laugh lines around her eyes and the kind of smile that felt like a hug. "Marcus, I'm Rosa Ironside's wife." She held up bags of food. Brought tamales, rice beans, and enough for leftovers. They ate in the garage office, which was barely bigger than a closet but had a space heater and 2 chairs. Rosa asked questions that felt gentle rather than intrusive. What subjects did he like in school? Did he play any sports? What kind of music did he listen to? "I need to talk to you about school," Rosa said eventually. "I called the district office. They'll need your last school's records to enroll you." Marcus's stomach dropped. "I don't have those." "Do you know what school you went to last?" He gave her the name, watched her write it down in neat handwriting. "I'll handle it," Rosa said. "But Marcus, I need you to be honest with me. How far behind are you?" "I can read okay. Math is harder. I don't know any science or history past 5th grade." Rosa nodded slowly. "Razor's sister is coming by tomorrow to assess where you're at. We'll get you caught up before enrolling you. No point throwing you into 7th grade if you're not ready. Everyone's going to think I'm stupid. Everyone's going to think you survived something hard, and you're working to build something better. There's no shame in that." Rosa's hand covered his. "My son dropped out at 16, took him 3 years to get his GED. Now he's in community college studying to be a paramedic. It's not about where you start, baby. It's about where you're going." That afternoon, Tommy showed up with a box of clothes. "My nephew's about your size. Outgrew all this stuff. It's yours if you want it." The clothes were name brand, barely worn, the kind of stuff Marcus had only ever seen on other kids at school. He held up a hoodie that still had the tags on it. "This is new." Tommy shrugged. "Kid's got more clothes than he knows what to do with. His loss your gain." At 3 p.m. Ironside arrived with Lily. She looked different in daylight, younger, less sure of herself. The leather jacket was gone, replaced by a college sweatshirt. "How's the hand?" she asked. Marcus flexed his fingers experimentally. "Hurts, but it works." "Good. That's good." Lily bit her lip. "I wanted to thank you properly. Last night was chaos, and I didn't really get to. You could have died. So could you. But I didn't because of you." Her eyes were bright with tears she wouldn't let fall. "Jake Thornton wasn't just some random guy. He's been after my dad for months. Drug territory stuff that I don't understand and don't want to. If he'd gotten to me—" "He didn't," Marcus interrupted. "You're okay." "Because you're insane," Lily laughed wetly. "Who runs toward a knife? Someone who knows what it's like to be scared and alone." The words hung in the air between them. Ironside cleared his throat. "Lily wanted to see you. Make sure you were settling in okay." "Everyone's been really nice," Marcus said, which felt like the understatement of the century. "That's because you're family now," Lily said firmly. "Dad explained it right about how Hell's Angels work." Marcus nodded. "So that means I'm your sister, officially." Lily stuck out her hand. "Nice to meet you, little brother." Marcus shook it confused. "You don't have to." "I want to." Lily's grip was strong. "You saved my life. That makes us bonded or whatever. Plus, I always wanted a little brother." "You sure about that?" Tommy called from across the garage. "Kid's already smarter than you." "Shut up, Tommy," Lily shot back, but she was smiling. That evening, Marcus sat on the steps outside the apartment, watching the sun set over Bakersfield. His phone buzzed with a text from a number labeled social worker. "Mr. Thompson, this is Angela Chen from CPS. I'm handling Keisha's case. Can you call me tomorrow at 9 a.m.? We need to discuss placement options." Marcus's chest tightened. Placement options. That meant foster care. That meant Keisha going to strangers. He was still staring at the message when Ray found him. "Bad news. My sister. They're talking about foster care." Ray sat beside him, the metal steps creaking under his weight. You want to fight for custody? I'm 12. I know, but that doesn't mean you don't have a voice. Ray pulled out his phone. Ironside knows a family lawyer. Pro bono work for people who need it. Let me call him. Why would a lawyer help me for free? Because his daughter was in a bad situation once and Hell's Angels helped get her out. Ray was already dialing. We take care of our own, remember? The lawyer's name was David Chen. No relation to the social worker apparently, and he arrived at the garage at 7 p.m. wearing a suit that probably cost more than Marcus's entire life up to this point. You're Marcus, David said, shaking his hand carefully around the bandages. I've heard a lot about you. They sat in Ray's office and David explained the legal situation in terms Marcus could understand. Keisha was currently in emergency foster care. The state would investigate Dontrell and their mother. A hearing would determine permanent placement. Can I see her? Marcus asked. Not yet. The state wants to make sure her placement is stable first, but I can file for visitation rights on your behalf. I'm her brother. I know, and that matters. But legally, you're also a minor with no current custody. David's voice was gentle. Here's what I propose. We establish you as a stable presence in Keisha's life, get you enrolled in school, show you're in a safe living situation, build a case for regular visitation. Eventually, when you're older, we can discuss guardianship. How much older? 16, maybe 18, depends on a lot of factors. David leaned forward. Marcus, I know that's not what you want to hear, but I need you to trust me. I've been doing this for 20 years. The best thing you can do for Keisha right now is prove you're okay. Can you do that? Marcus looked at Ray, who nodded encouragement. I can try. That's all anyone can ask. After David left, Marcus sat in the apartment that still didn't feel real. Eating leftover tamales Rosa had pressed into his hands, scrolling through his phone. He had 17 new contacts now. Ironside Ray, Rosa Tommy, Razor, Lily, Preach, David the lawyer, and a bunch of other bikers whose names he was still learning. A text came through from Lily. Movie night at my house Friday. You're coming. Non-negotiable. Before he could respond, another text. Also, Mom's making her famous flan. If you don't come, I'm eating your portion. Marcus smiled despite everything. What time? 7. Dad will pick you up. The week that followed established a routine that Marcus clung to like a life raft. Wake at 6, shower, eat whatever food had mysteriously appeared in his fridge overnight. Downstairs by 8 to sweep, organize, watch, learn. Lunch with whoever stopped by, usually Rosa or one of the bikers. Afternoon continuing whatever work Ray assigned. Evening phone call with the social worker about Keisha. Dinner. Homework with Razor's sister, a patient woman named Kim who didn't make him feel stupid when he struggled with fractions. The tutoring sessions revealed just how far behind Marcus had fallen. He could read at maybe a 5th grade level, his math skills topped out at basic multiplication, and he'd never learned to write an essay. Kim created a plan that would take months to execute. We'll get you there, she said confidently. You're smart, Marcus. You just need time and practice. Friday came faster than expected. Ironside picked him up at 6:30 in a truck instead of a motorcycle, which Marcus appreciated. His nerves were already shot without adding engine roar to the mix. You good? Ironside asked. I've never been to someone's house for dinner before, like invited on purpose. Ironside's jaw tightened. Well, you're invited on purpose now. And Rosa's been cooking all day, so come hungry. The Martinez house was nice, but not fancy, a 1-story ranch with a neat yard and toys scattered on the porch. Inside it smelled like cinnamon and cooking meat and something Marcus couldn't identify but made his mouth water. Marcus! Rosa appeared, pulling him into a hug before he could prepare for it. Come in! Come in! You're just in time. Lily, get down here! Lily thundered down the stairs wearing pajama pants and a t-shirt, her hair in a messy bun. She looked nothing like the terrified girl from the convenience store. Finally, Mom wouldn't let me start the movie without you. She grabbed his good hand and pulled him toward the living room. We're watching an action movie. Dad's choice, but I vetted it for inappropriate content since you're 12. I've seen R-rated movies. Not in this house, you haven't, Rosa called from the kitchen. We have standards. They ate dinner at a table that seated 8 tamales, rice beans, fresh tortillas, and Rosa's famous flan for dessert. 2 other bikers joined them, guys Marcus recognized from the hospital but whose names he couldn't remember. They treated him like he'd always been there, teasing and joking and making sure his plate stayed full. So, Marcus, one of them, Jackson. Marcus finally remembered, said, "Ray tells me you're getting good with the pneumatic tools." "I'm okay." "Kid's being modest," Ray interjected. "He's got natural mechanical sense. Give him 6 months and he'll be changing oil solo." Marcus felt his face heat. He wasn't used to compliments that didn't come with conditions. After dinner, they sprawled in the living room, and Lily queued up some explosion-heavy thriller that Marcus immediately lost the plot of because he was too busy trying to process the normalcy of it all. A family watching a movie together. No screaming, no violence, no fear. Halfway through, he realized Lily had fallen asleep against his shoulder. "She does that," Ironside said softly. "Gets comfortable and just crashes." "Should I move?" "Nah, let her sleep." Ironside's smile was fond. "She hasn't slept well since the attack. Nightmares. But she seems calm now." Marcus sat very still, hyper-aware of the trust implicit in a 16-year-old girl feeling safe enough to sleep next to him. He thought about Keisha, about how she used to climb into his bed during thunderstorms, about how he'd failed to protect her from the bigger storm that was Dontrell. "You're thinking loud again," Ironside observed. "Sorry." "Stop apologizing. Just talk." Marcus kept his voice low so as not to wake Lily. "I keep waiting for this to end, for someone to realize I'm not worth all this effort and send me back." "Back where?" "To a man who beat you not happening. I'm nobody special." "Marcus." Ironside waited until Marcus looked at him. "You put yourself between my daughter and a knife. You had nothing, no home, no food, no safety, and you still chose to help someone else. That's not nobody. That's a hero." "Heroes don't run away and leave their little sisters behind. Heroes make impossible choices with no good options." Ironside's voice was firm. "You survived. Now you're building something better so you can help Keisha later. That's what heroes do." Marcus wanted to believe that. He wanted it so badly it hurt. His phone buzzed with a text from the social worker. "Keisha asking about you. Told her you're safe and working hard. She said to tell you she's proud of you." Marcus's vision blurred. He typed back with one hand, "Tell her I love her. Tell her I'm coming back for her." "I will." The movie ended. Lily woke up disoriented and apologetic. Rosa sent Marcus home with enough leftovers to feed him for 3 days. Ironside drove him back to the garage, and the silence in the truck was comfortable rather than awkward. "Same time next Friday?" Ironside asked. "Yeah, okay. Good." "Rosa's making enchiladas." Marcus climbed the stairs to his apartment, unlocked the door with the deadbolt that was his alone, and collapsed onto the bed that was his alone. For the first time since running away, he let himself hope that maybe, just maybe, he could build something better than survival. Maybe he could build a life. His phone buzzed one more time. A text from a number he didn't recognize. "This is Big Tommy. Group ride tomorrow at 10 a.m. You're coming. Dress warm." Marcus smiled into his pillow. He'd never been on a motorcycle ride before. He'd never had people who cared if he showed up. He'd never had a family that chose him instead of tolerating him. He fell asleep thinking about second chances and found families and the strange, terrifying, wonderful feeling of being seen. Saturday morning arrived with Tommy pounding on Marcus's door at 9:30, a full half hour earlier than promised. "Rise and shine, little man. We're burning daylight." Marcus stumbled out of bed, his hands still aching from the stitches, and found Tommy holding a motorcycle helmet that looked about 3 sizes too big. "This'll keep your brain from splattering if we crash," Tommy said cheerfully. "Which we won't, but Rosa made me promise to give you the safety speech." "What safety speech?" "Hold on tight, don't lean wrong, don't let go even if you're scared." Tommy grinned. "There, speech done. Let's ride." Downstairs, the parking lot was full of motorcycles and bikers already geared up. Marcus counted 23 of them, all wearing their leather vests with the Hells Angels patches that made people cross the street. "Where are we going?" Marcus asked, his stomach doing nervous flips. Nowhere in particular, Ironside said, checking his bike's mirrors. That's the point of a group ride, we just go. But what if I fall off? Then we pick you up and try again. Ironside's voice was matter-of-fact. You trust Tommy not to let that happen? Marcus looked at Tommy, who was built like he could bench press a car and had eyes that crinkled with constant amusement. I guess. Good enough. Ironside swung onto his bike. Tommy, keep him safe. Marcus panics, you pull over. Got it, boss. Marcus climbed onto the back of Tommy's bike, the helmet rattling around his head despite the adjustment straps. His hands found the passenger grips and he held on with a desperation that made his injured palm scream in protest. You good? Tommy called back. No. Perfect. Let's go. The engines roared to life in a coordinated thunder that Marcus felt in his chest. Then they were moving, pulling out of the parking lot in a precise formation that seemed choreographed. Tommy's bike was near the middle of the pack, protected on all sides by other riders. The first 5 minutes were pure terror. Marcus was convinced he'd slide off or the bike would tip or they'd crash into something. But Tommy rode smooth and steady, taking turns carefully, never going fast enough to panic his passenger. By minute 10, Marcus's death grip loosened slightly. By 20, he was actually looking around instead of squeezing his eyes shut. They rode through Bakersfield, past neighborhoods Marcus recognized and ones he didn't, past his old elementary school, where he'd once gotten suspended for fighting a kid who'd called his mama a crack whore. The city looked different from the back of a motorcycle, smaller, somehow less threatening. Tommy caught his eye in the side mirror and gave him a thumbs up. Marcus returned it with his good hand. They stopped at a park on the outskirts of town, all 23 bikes pulling into the lot like a synchronized unit. Marcus climbed off on shaky legs, his heart still racing, but in a good way now. You did good, little man, Tommy said, clapping him on the back hard enough to make him stumble. Most kids puke or cry their first time. You just held on. I was too scared to puke. Fear's good. Keeps you sharp. Tommy pulled off his gloves. Come on, let's eat. Razor brought sandwiches. The bikers spread out across the park, claiming picnic tables and grass patches. Razor distributed sandwiches from a cooler that shouldn't have fit on her bike, but somehow did, and someone else passed around chips and sodas. Marcus sat between Tommy and a biker named Steele, who had more tattoos than visible skin, and ate in quiet contentment while the adults talked around him. So Jake Thornton's in county, Steele was saying. Bail set at 50 grand. He'll make it, Ironside said darkly. His boss always does. Maybe, but Judge also issued a restraining order, 500 feet from Lily, from our clubhouse, from any known associates. Like that'll stop him. Tommy's voice was grim. Man's desperate and stupid, dangerous combination. Marcus's sandwich turned to paste in his mouth. What does that mean? The adults exchanged looks. It means nothing for you to worry about, Ironside said, but his tone was too careful. We're just being cautious. He knows I was there, at the store. Marcus's heart rate kicked up. He saw my face. So did 50 other people that night, Razor interjected. You're not special to him, kid. You're just another witness. But Marcus had seen Jake's eyes when the knife came down, had heard the promise in his voice. You're dead, kid. People didn't say things like that and then forget. I want to learn to fight, Marcus said suddenly. Tommy nearly choked on his soda. What? To fight. To defend myself. Marcus's hands were shaking now and he shoved them under his legs. If something happens, I need to know how. Marcus, you're 12, Ironside started. I'm 12 and I've already been in a knife fight, and I lost. Next time. There won't be a next time, Ironside said firmly. You don't know that. Marcus's voice cracked. You can't promise that. Nobody can. The silence that followed was heavy. A kid on a nearby swing set laughed, the sound jarring against the tension at their table. Finally, Tommy spoke. I teach kickboxing at the gym on 5th Street. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 to 8 p.m. Kids class. Tommy, Ironside began. He's right. Tommy interrupted. We can't promise nothing bad'll happen. Best we can do is make sure he's prepared. He looked at Marcus. It's not like the movies, little man. Real fighting is ugly and painful and scary. But I can teach you basics. How to block, how to escape a grab, how to make noise, and run. I want to learn. Tommy glanced at Ironside, who after a long moment nodded reluctantly. Fine. But you follow instructions exactly, no cowboy heroics, and if I say you're not ready for something that's final. Marcus nodded so fast his helmet rattled. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. First class is Tuesday. You're gonna hate me by the end of it. They rode back to the garage an hour later, the sun warm on Marcus's shoulders, and the fear a little less sharp in his chest. When they pulled into the lot, a silver sedan was parked by the garage entrance, and a woman in business clothes stood beside it checking her watch. Marcus's stomach dropped. He knew that look, social worker cop, someone official who wanted to ask questions he didn't want to answer. Marcus Thompson, the woman called as he climbed off the bike. That's me. I'm Angela Chen. We've been speaking on the phone. She smiled, but it was the professional kind that didn't reach her eyes. I need to conduct a home inspection. Standard procedure for Keisha's case. Home inspection. The words echoed in Marcus's head as panic set in. She was going to see the tiny apartment, the secondhand furniture, the fact that he was living above a garage with a bunch of bikers. She was going to decide it wasn't good enough and take Keisha away forever. Now, he managed. If that's convenient, it won't take long. Ironside appeared at Marcus's shoulder. Ms. Chen, I'm Marcus's guardian. Angela's eyebrows rose slightly. Temporary guardian, and you're not listed on the paperwork I have. That's because the paperwork's being updated. Ironside's voice stayed level. David Chen is handling the legal side. Ah, yes. I've spoken with Mr. Chen. Angela pulled out a tablet. Regardless, I need to see where Marcus is living. Court's orders. They climbed the stairs in tense silence, Marcus, Angela, Ironside, and Ray, who'd emerged from the garage wiping grease from his hands. The apartment suddenly looked smaller, shabbier, not enough. Angela walked through, slowly making notes on her tablet. She checked the bathroom, the kitchenette, tested the stove and the lock on the door. She looked in the fridge, thank God Rosa had stocked it yesterday, and examined the sleeping area. How long have you been here, Marcus? She asked. Week and a half. And before that? Marcus looked at Ironside, who nodded. I was on the streets 4 days. Because of the domestic violence situation at your mother's home. Yes. Angela wrote something down. Have you been attending school? I'm being tutored right now, getting caught up so I can enroll properly. More notes, more questions. How was he eating? Who was supervising him? Did he feel safe? What were his plans for the future? Marcus answered mechanically, his mind racing ahead to the conclusion he could see coming. Not good enough, not stable enough, not a real home. Finally, Angela closed her tablet. Thank you for your time. I'll be submitting my report to the judge by end of week. What does that mean for Keisha? Marcus asked, his voice small. It means the judge will review all factors when determining permanent placement. Angela's smile was gentle but non-committal. I can't make promises, Marcus, but I can tell you that the fact you're in stable housing with support is positive. After she left, Marcus collapsed onto the bed. She's going to say no. I could see it in her face. You can't know that, Ray said. She looked at this place like it was a joke. Marcus's eyes burned. A kid living above a garage with bikers. What judge is going to approve that? Ironside sat in the desk chair, making it creak under his weight. Listen to me. Angela Chen's job is to be cautious. She's seen too many kids placed in bad situations. But she's also fair, and she knows David Chen's reputation. We're not done fighting. What if fighting isn't enough? Nobody had an answer for that. Tuesday came too fast. Marcus showed up at Tommy's gym at 5:45 early and nervous, and wearing borrowed athletic clothes that were too big. The gym smelled like sweat and rubber mats and determination. You're early, Tommy said, surprised. Class doesn't start till 6. I know. I wanted to, I don't know. Be ready. Tommy's expression softened. Come on then, help me set up the equipment. They arranged punching bags, laid out sparring mats, organized gloves by size. Other kids started filtering in around 6, mostly teenagers, a few as young as 10. They all seemed to know Tommy, greeting him with casual familiarity. "This is Marcus," Tommy announced when 12 kids had assembled. "He's new. You're going to make him feel welcome or you're running laps. Clear?" A chorus of "Yes, Coach Tommy" echoed through the gym. The class started with warm-ups that made Marcus's lungs burn within 5 minutes. Jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups, stretches that pulled muscles he didn't know he had. By the time they moved to technique training, he was already exhausted. "Partner up," Tommy commanded. A girl about Marcus's age with her hair in braids approached him. "You can be with me. I'm Jasmine." "Marcus." "I know. Tommy told us about you." She said it matter-of-factly without judgment. "You really stopped a knife attack." "I got stabbed, if that's what you mean." "That's badass." Jasmine grinned. "Okay, Tommy's teaching blocks today. Watch my hands." For the next hour, Marcus learned that fighting was less about punching and more about positioning. How to keep your hands up, how to move your feet, how to deflect instead of absorbing impact. Jasmine was patient, demonstrating over and over when he got it wrong. "Don't drop your left hand," she coached. "Someone comes at you, that hand protects your face." By the time class ended, Marcus could barely lift his arms. His injured hand throbbed, despite the protective wrap Tommy had insisted on, and his legs felt like jelly. "You did good," Tommy said, tossing him a water bottle. "Most kids quit after first class. Too hard, too much work." "I'm coming back Thursday," Marcus said between gasps. "I figured you would." Tommy's smile was approving. "Just remember, this isn't about being tough. It's about being smart. Real fighters avoid fights whenever possible." "Then what's the point?" "The point is knowing you can handle yourself if you have no other choice. Confidence, little man. That's what we're building." Wednesday brought tutoring with Kim, who immediately noticed Marcus's exhausted state. "Long night?" she asked. "Fighting class." Kim's eyebrows rose. "Fighting class? Learning to defend myself. Tommy's teaching me." "Good for you." She pulled out his math workbook. "Speaking of defending yourself, let's tackle fractions. They're about to attack your brain." The session was brutal. Marcus's concentration was shot. His body ached, and fractions made about as much sense as ancient hieroglyphics. After an hour of struggle, Kim closed the book. "We're done for today. You're not retaining anything." "I'm sorry." "Don't apologize. You're exhausted and in pain. We'll try again Friday." Kim packed her bag. "Marcus, can I ask you something?" "Okay." "Why the sudden interest in fighting Tommy? Said you practically begged him to teach you." Marcus picked at the bandage on his hand. "Because last time I tried to help someone, I got hurt. Next time, I want to do better." "There might not be a next time." "Everyone keeps saying that, but bad things keep happening anyway." Marcus met her eyes. "I'm tired of being helpless." Kim was quiet for a moment. "My brother was mugged when he was 16, beaten pretty badly. Afterward, he got obsessed with self-defense, took classes, bought weapons, turned our garage into a training facility." She paused. "It took him years to realize he wasn't preparing for another attack. He was trying to rewrite the first one, to go back and be stronger, faster, better. What's wrong with that? Nothing, except you can't change what already happened. You can only decide who you want to be moving forward." Kim's voice was gentle. "Learning to fight isn't wrong, Marcus. Just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons." After she left, Marcus sat with her words. Was he trying to rewrite the convenience store, trying to go back and save himself before Jake's knife came down? His phone buzzed. A text from Lily. "Dad's being weird. Won't tell me what's wrong. Do you know anything?" Marcus didn't, but the message made his stomach clench. He texted back, "Should I ask him?" "No, I'll figure it out. Just wanted to check if you'd heard stuff." "Nothing. Everything okay?" "Yeah. Probably just stressed about work. See you Friday." But something felt off, and Marcus couldn't shake the unease that settled over him like a cold blanket. Thursday's fighting class was worse than Tuesday's. Tommy pushed them harder, introducing sparring drills that left Marcus with bruises on his ribs and a split lip when he dropped his guard. "Better," Tommy said, helping him up from the mat. "You're thinking before reacting now. That's progress." Marcus spit blood into a towel. Doesn't feel like progress. That's because progress hurts. Tommy demonstrated a defensive stance. Again, and this time keep your hands up. They went again, and again, and again until Marcus moved on muscle memory instead of conscious thought. When class ended, Jasmine offered him a fist bump. You're getting better. Not good, but better. Thanks, I think. Take it as a compliment. Most kids would have given up by now. She shouldered her gym bag. See you next week. Walking back to the garage, Marcus's phone rang. An unfamiliar number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Marcus Thompson. Yes. This is Officer Davidson with Bakersfield PD. I need to inform you that Jake Thornton made bail this afternoon. The world tilted. What? He's out on bail. Conditions include a restraining order, GPS monitoring, and mandatory check-ins, but I wanted you to be aware. He said he was going to kill me. Marcus's voice came out high and thin. At the store. He said I was dead. The restraining order prohibits him from coming within 500 feet of you, Lily Martinez, or any Hells Angels locations. If he violates that, he goes back to jail immediately. But he's out there. Yes, and we're monitoring the situation closely. Officer Davidson's voice was professional but not unkind. Is there an adult I can speak with? Marcus gave him Ray's number and hung up with shaking hands. Jake was out. The man who'd tried to kill him, who'd promised to finish the job, was walking around free. He was still standing frozen on the sidewalk when Ray found him 10 minutes later, his face grim. Cop called me. You okay? No. Fair enough. Come on, let's get you inside. Back at the apartment, Ray made calls while Marcus sat on the bed, his mind spinning. Ironside arrived within 20 minutes, followed by Tommy and Steele and half a dozen other bikers who filled the small space with leather and grim determination. Jake Thornton's an idiot, but he's not suicidal, Ironside said. He knows coming after you means coming after us. He won't risk it. You don't know that, Marcus whispered. I know Jake's boss. Man named Ricky Vance runs meth up and down the valley. Ricky's smart enough to keep Jake on a short leash. He won't let Jake do anything stupid that brings heat on the operation. But what if? No what ifs. Ironside's voice was firm. Here's what's happening. You don't go anywhere alone. Ray drives you to tutoring and fighting class. Someone's always in the garage during business hours. You keep your phone on you at all times. I can't live like a prisoner. You're not a prisoner. You're protected. Tommy crouched down to Marcus's eye level. Little man, we've got this. Trust us. Marcus wanted to. He wanted to believe that 68 bikers could keep him safe from one angry meth addict with a grudge. But he'd learned young that safety was an illusion, and protection meant nothing when the monster knew where you slept. That night, he didn't sleep. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to every car that passed, every footstep outside, every creak of the building settling. The deadbolt on his door felt inadequate. The walls felt thin. The darkness felt hungry. At 3 a.m., he gave up and texted Tommy. You awake? The response came immediately. Yeah, can't sleep. No. Want company? Marcus hesitated, then typed. Yeah. Tommy arrived 15 minutes later with coffee and a deck of cards and didn't ask questions. They played Go Fish until dawn, barely speaking, and when the sun finally rose, Marcus felt marginally more human. Thanks, he said as Tommy packed up to leave. Any time, little man. I mean that. 3 a.m., 3 p.m. doesn't matter. You need someone, you call. Friday's dinner at the Martinez house was subdued. Rosa tried to keep things light, serving enchiladas and telling stories about Ironside's misspent youth, but the tension was palpable. Lily kept checking her phone. Ironside kept checking the windows. Marcus kept checking his hands, which wouldn't stop shaking. Okay, that's it. Rosa set down her fork with authority. Everyone in this room is wound tighter than a spring. We're going to talk about what's actually going on. Mom, Lily started. No deflecting. Rosa looked around the table. Jake Thornton is out on bail and everyone's scared. That's valid. But sitting here pretending everything's fine isn't helping anyone. Marcus found his voice. I'm scared he's going to come after Lily again. Or me. Or both of us. He might try, Ironside said bluntly. Rosa shot him a look, but he continued. I'm not going to lie to you, Marcus. Jake's desperate and desperate stupid people do desperate, stupid things. So what do? Lily asked. We stay smart. We stay together. We trust each other and the protocols we've put in place. Ironside's eyes were hard. And if Jake's dumb enough to violate the restraining order, we make sure he regrets it. Vicente. Rosa's voice was sharp. What? You want me to lie? Tell these kids it's all sunshine and rainbows. Ironside stood agitated. They deserve the truth. The truth is we're in a situation, and we're handling it the best way we know how. Marcus looked at Lily, who looked back with the same fear he felt. They were bonded now by trauma and blood and the knowledge that danger wasn't theoretical. It was out there walking around with a GPS ankle monitor and a grudge. I'm not going to let anything happen to you, Marcus said to her. You got stabbed last time you tried to protect me. So I'm learning to fight better. Lily laughed a watery sound. We're both insane. Probably. Marcus managed a small smile. But at least we're insane together. After dinner, Ironside drove Marcus back to the garage. The silence in the truck was heavy until Ironside spoke. David Chen called today. Angela Chen submitted her report. Marcus's heart stopped. And it's not terrible. She noted concerns about your age, the unconventional living situation, and the Hells Angels Association. But she also noted you're in stable housing, receiving education, and have strong community support. Is that enough? We won't know until the hearing next month. Ironside pulled into the garage lot. Marcus, I need you to understand something. Even if the judge doesn't approve visitation right away, we don't stop fighting. We keep building your case, proving you're stable, showing you're serious about being in Keisha's life. What if it takes years? Then it takes years, but you don't give up on family. Marcus climbed out of the truck, then turned back. Ironside. Why are you doing all this? Really? Ironside was quiet for a long moment. When Lily was 8, her mom left, just packed a bag and walked out. Lily cried for 3 months straight, asking me what she'd done wrong. I told her the same thing I'm telling you now. Sometimes people leave not because of anything you did, but because of who they are. And sometimes the family you make is stronger than the family you're born into. Lily's mom left 10 years ago. Haven't heard from her since. Ironside's jaw was tight. Rosa came into our lives 2 years later. Loved Lily like she'd always been hers. That's when I learned that family isn't about blood. It's about showing up. You keep showing up for me. Because you showed up for my daughter when it mattered most. That makes you family kid. And Hell's Angels don't abandon family. That night, Marcus slept better than he had since Jake's release. The deadbolt locked his phone charged and close, and the knowledge that if something happened, he had people who would come running. He woke Saturday to pounding on his door and jackknifed, upright heart racing before Tommy's voice penetrated the panic. Marcus, open up. It's important. He stumbled to the door, unlocked. It found Tommy standing there with Ironside and Ray, all of them wearing expressions he couldn't read. What happened? Marcus asked, his voice rough with sleep. Jake Thornton violated the restraining order, Ironside said. He was picked up an hour ago 3 blocks from Lily's school. Marcus's blood went cold. Is she okay? She's fine. She wasn't even there. School's closed on weekends. But Jake was spotted by a patrol officer who recognized him from the bolo. What does that mean for us? It means Jake's bail is revoked. He's back in county jail, and this time the judge isn't going to be lenient. Ironside's smile was grim. It's over, Marcus. He's not getting out again before trial. The relief that crashed over Marcus was so intense it hurt. His legs gave out and Tommy caught him, holding him steady while he processed. You're sure? Marcus asked. Positive. I got the call from my contact at the courthouse 30 minutes ago. Jake violated a court order. That's serious. He's done. Marcus started laughing high and slightly hysterical and couldn't stop. The fear that had been pressing on his chest for a week finally lifted, and he could breathe again. Easy, little man, Tommy said, but he was smiling too. You're okay. We're all okay. I thought he was going to. I know, but he didn't, and now he can't. They went out for breakfast to celebrate all the bikers who could make it on short notice, plus Rosa and Lily cramming into a diner that clearly wasn't prepared for a Hells Angels invasion. They took over 4 tables, ordered too much food, and made enough noise that other patrons kept glancing over nervously. Marcus sat between Tommy and Lily, eating pancakes, and listening to the adults tell stories, and felt something he hadn't felt in years, safe. "You know what this means," Lily said, nudging him with her elbow. "What? You can stop being scared all the time. You can just be a kid." Marcus thought about fighting class, about tutoring, about the court hearing next month that would determine if he could see Keisha. He thought about all the ways his life was still uncertain and scary and hard. "I don't think I know how to just be a kid anymore." Lily's expression turned serious. "Then we'll figure it out together. That's what siblings do." And sitting there in a diner full of bikers who'd adopted him next to a girl who called him Brother Marcus, thought maybe she was right. Maybe it was time to stop surviving and start living. His phone buzzed with a text from the social worker. "Keisha's foster family is willing to arrange supervised visitation. Call me Monday to discuss scheduling." Marcus showed the text to Ironside, who read it and smiled. "Looks like things are starting to turn around, kid." "Looks like it," Marcus agreed, and for the first time since running away, he let himself believe it might actually be true. Monday morning came with a phone call that made Marcus's hands shake so badly he almost dropped his cereal bowl. Angela Chen's voice was professionally neutral, which somehow made it worse. "The foster family has agreed to supervised visitation. However, there are conditions." Marcus pressed the phone harder against his ear. "What conditions?" "The visits will take place at the CPS office. 1 hour, supervised by a social worker. You'll need to complete a behavioral assessment first, and David Chen will need to provide updated documentation proving stable housing." "When can I see her?" "Assuming the paperwork clears this week, we're looking at next Saturday, 2 p.m. 6 more days. Marcus had survived 4 days on the streets, a knife attack, and a week of waiting for Jake to come back for him. Surely he could survive 6 more days. "I'll be there," he said. After hanging up, he realized Ray was standing in the garage doorway watching him. "Good news or bad news?" Ray asked. "Good, I think. I can see Keisha next Saturday." "That's great, kid." Ray's smile was genuine. "You nervous?" "Terrified." Marcus set down the phone. "What if she's mad at me for leaving? What if she doesn't want to see me?" "Then you deal with it." "But Marcus, that little girl has been asking about you non-stop, according to Angela. She's not mad. She's probably just as scared as you are." The week crawled by with agonizing slowness. Marcus threw himself into work at the garage, attacking every task Ray gave him with fierce concentration. If he kept busy, he couldn't think about all the ways the visit could go wrong. Tuesday's fighting class was brutal. Tommy introduced grappling techniques that left Marcus pinned to the mat more times than he could count. "You're too tense," Jasmine said, helping him up for the 4th time. "You're fighting scared." "I am scared." "Then use it. Fear makes you fast." She demonstrated a technique for breaking a hold. "Channel it instead of fighting against it." Marcus tried again, and this time when Jasmine grabbed him, he remembered her words. Fear made his reflexes sharper, his movements quicker. He broke the hold and stepped back, breathing hard. "Better," Tommy called from across the gym. "That's what I'm talking about." After class, Tommy pulled him aside. "You heard about the behavioral assessment Angela mentioned?" "Yeah, this week sometime." "It's tomorrow, 3 p.m. at her office." Tommy's expression was serious. "They're going to ask you questions about your past, about Dontrell, about why you ran. It's going to be uncomfortable." Marcus's stomach dropped. "What do I say?" "The truth. That's all you can do." Tommy squeezed his shoulder. "But remember, you're not the one who did something wrong. You survived. There's no shame in that." The behavioral assessment turned out to be 2 hours with a therapist named Dr. Williams, a thin black man with kind eyes and a gentle voice that made Marcus want to cry just from the softness of it. "Tell me about your home life before you ran away," Dr. Williams said. Marcus started talking and couldn't stop. It poured out of him like poison from a wound. Dontrell's fists, his mama's blank stares, the nights hiding in closets, the constant fear, the way he'd learned to make himself invisible because being seen meant being hurt. I tried to protect Keisha, he said, his voice breaking. I put myself between them when I could. But I wasn't big enough, wasn't strong enough. And when Dontrell threw me into the cabinet and I saw the blood, I knew if I stayed he was going to kill me eventually. So you left to survive. I left because I was a coward. Marcus. Dr. Williams leaned forward. A 12-year-old child recognizing a life-threatening situation and removing themselves from it isn't cowardice. It's survival instinct. What would have happened if you'd stayed? Marcus thought about it honestly. He probably would have killed me. Or I would have fought back one day and he'd have put me in the hospital or worse. And then what good would you have been to Keisha dead or severely injured? The logic was sound, but it didn't ease the guilt that sat like a stone in Marcus's chest. I still left her there. You did. And then you got help. You got yourself to safety, you connected with people who could intervene, and now Keisha is out of that house too. Dr. Williams made a note. You set in motion the chain of events that saved you both. That's not cowardice, Marcus. That's courage. The session ended with Dr. Williams promising his report would be submitted to the court within 24 hours. Marcus walked out feeling simultaneously lighter and heavier, like he'd lanced an infected wound, but the healing was going to hurt worse than the original injury. Thursday brought a surprise. Marcus was helping Ray install new brake pads when a familiar silver sedan pulled into the lot, but it wasn't Angela Chen who emerged. It was a small girl with cornrows and a yellow backpack flanked by 2 social workers. Marcus dropped the wrench he was holding. Keisha. She saw him and her face crumpled. Marcus. The social workers barely had time to react before Keisha was running and Marcus was running, and they collided in the middle of the parking lot in a tangle of arms and tears. I thought you weren't coming back, Keisha sobbed into his shoulder. I thought you left for real. Never. I was never leaving you for real. Marcus held her so tight he was probably hurting her, but he couldn't let go. She was solid and real and here. I'm sorry, Keish. I'm so sorry. Mr. Thompson. One of the social workers approached. This wasn't scheduled. I know, but... Marcus looked up at Angela Chen, who'd been standing back watching. I don't understand. Dr. Williams's report came back extremely positive, Angela said, and Keisha's been asking to see you every single day. We thought a surprise visit might be beneficial for both of you. Beneficial didn't begin to cover it. Marcus couldn't stop touching Keisha's hair, her face, her hands, confirming she was actually there. She looked healthier than he'd ever seen her. Her cheeks had filled out, there were no bruises, and her eyes weren't shadowed with fear. Are you okay? He asked. Are they treating you good? Miss Rachel and Mr. Tom are nice. They have a dog named Biscuit and he sleeps on my bed and they let me pick what I want for breakfast and... Keisha's words tumbled over each other. But I miss you. I miss you so much. I miss you too, baby girl. Marcus wiped his eyes with his sleeve. But you're safe now. That's what matters. They sat on the garage steps while the social workers conferred with Ray and Angela at a distance. Keisha showed him drawings she'd made, crayon pictures of a house with a dog of her, and Marcus holding hands of a family that existed only in her imagination. Is this where you live? She pointed at the building. Yeah, up there. Marcus indicated the apartment. It's small, but it's mine. Got a lock and everything. Can I see it? Marcus looked at the social workers who consulted with each other before nodding. The apartment seemed even smaller with Keisha in it, but she was delighted by everything. The bed that folded from the wall. The PlayStation Steel had donated. The fridge covered in photos. The bikers had given him group shots from rides, pictures of Lily and Rosa, even one of Tommy, making a ridiculous face at the camera. Who are all these people? Keisha asked. My family. Sort of. Marcus struggled to explain. They're bikers. Hell's Angels. They helped me when I had nowhere to go. Are they scary? Sometimes, but they're good people. They kept me safe. Keisha studied a photo of Ironside standing next to his motorcycle, all leather and tattoos, an intimidating presence. He looks mean. He's not. He has a daughter named Lily, who I saved from a bad man, and he's been helping me ever since. Marcus crouched down to her level. Keish, I need you to understand something. I didn't leave because I wanted to. I left because staying meant Dontrell was going to hurt me so bad I might not recover. But I never stopped thinking about you. Not for 1 second. Keisha's lip trembled. He hurt me too after you left. Not bad like he hurt you, but he grabbed my arm really hard and said it was my fault you ran away. White-hot rage flooded through Marcus. Where did he grab you? She pushed up her sleeve, showing a faint bruise on her upper arm. It was yellowing now, healing, but Marcus could see the fingerprints in the discoloration. That's why they took me away, Keisha continued. Teacher saw it at school and asked questions, and I told her about Dontrell and about you running away, and then the police came and everything happened really fast. Marcus pulled her into another hug, this one fiercer. He's never touching you again. I promise you that. Never. Marcus. Angela's voice came from the doorway. We need to wrap up. Keisha has therapy at 4. Already. Marcus couldn't keep the desperation from his voice. I'm sorry, but you'll see her Saturday as scheduled. Same time, same place. Saying goodbye was worse than the knife had been. Keisha clung to him, crying, begging to stay just 5 more minutes. The social workers had to physically pry her away, and Marcus stood on the steps, watching the car drive away with his little sister's tear-streaked face pressed against the back window. Ray found him there 10 minutes later, still frozen in place. You good? No. Marcus's voice was hollow. She showed me a bruise. Dontrell grabbed her after I left. Because of me. Not because of you. Because of him. Ray's voice was firm. You didn't make him violent, Marcus. That was already in him. I should have taken her with me. You were 12 years old with no money and nowhere to go. How exactly would that have worked? Ray sat on the step beside him. Look, I know you feel guilty, but guilt is just another way to punish yourself for something that wasn't your fault. You survived, you got help, and now Keisha's safe because of the chain of events you set in motion. That's what matters. Marcus wanted to believe that. He wanted to stop carrying the weight of every bad thing that had happened. But the guilt had been his companion for so long, he didn't know how to put it down. That night, he texted Lily. Saw Keisha today. It was good and terrible. She called him immediately. What happened? He told her everything. The surprise visit, the bruise, the goodbyes. Lily listened without interrupting, and when he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. You know what I see, she finally said. I see a kid who survived hell and still has enough love in him to fight for his sister. That's not weakness, Marcus. That's the strongest thing I've ever heard. It doesn't feel strong. It feels like I'm breaking apart. Maybe that's what healing looks like. Breaking apart so you can put yourself back together better. Lily's voice was gentle. You want to come over tomorrow? Mom's making lasagna and she's been asking about you. Yeah, okay. Friday's dinner at the Martinez house was exactly what Marcus needed: noise and food and people who didn't expect him to have it all together. Rosa piled his plate with lasagna and garlic bread, and Ironside told embarrassing stories about Lily's middle school years that made her throw napkins at him. Remember when you tried to dye your hair purple and it came out green? Ironside said, grinning. Dad, I was 13. Let it go. Never. I have pictures. If you show those pictures, I'm telling Mom about the time you crashed your bike into the clubhouse garage door. Rosa perked up. The time you what? Traitor, Ironside muttered at Lily, but he was smiling. Marcus watched them, this family built on love and laughter and the kind of comfortable teasing that only came from real safety. This is what Keisha deserved. This is what he deserved. Marcus, Rosa's voice pulled him from his thoughts. Angela Chen called me today. His fork froze halfway to his mouth. About what? The court hearing. It's been moved up to next Friday instead of the end of the month. Judge had a cancellation and wants to move quickly on Keisha's case. Next Friday. Marcus's heart hammered. That's 1 week away. I know it's fast, but it's also good. Means less waiting, less uncertainty. Rosa reached across the table to squeeze his hand. David's preparing your case. He thinks you have a strong chance at regular visitation, possibly unsupervised, in a few months if things go well. What if they don't go well? Then we keep fighting. But Marcus, you need to start believing in yourself. Everyone else already does. Saturday's visit with Keisha was scheduled for 2 hours this time. They met at the CPS office in a room painted cheerful yellow with toys in the corner and a social worker named Janet sitting discreetly in the background. Keisha brought drawings again, and they colored together while she told him about her foster family. Miss Rachel was a nurse who worked night shifts. Mr. Tom was a mechanic who reminded Marcus of Ray. They had 2 other foster kids, teenagers, who mostly ignored Keisha but weren't mean. Biscuit sleeps on my bed every night, Keisha said, carefully coloring a dog purple. He keeps the nightmares away. You're having nightmares. Sometimes. About Dontrell. About you being gone. She didn't look up from her drawing. Dr. Williams says that's normal, that my brain is processing trauma. Marcus hated that his 8-year-old sister knew the word trauma. Are the nightmares bad? Not as bad as they used to be, and Biscuit helps. Keisha finally looked at him. Do you have nightmares? Yeah. About what? Marcus thought about lying about protecting her from the weight of his fears. But Keisha had lived through the same house he had. She deserved honesty. About not getting to you in time. About Dontrell hurting you worse because I left. About losing you forever. Keisha set down her crayon and climbed into his lap, something she hadn't done since she was 5. You're not losing me. We're Thompson kids. We're tougher than that. Marcus wrapped his arms around her and let himself cry quietly into her hair, while Janet pretended to be very interested in her paperwork. The 2 hours passed too quickly. When Janet said time was up, Marcus made himself let go, despite every instinct screaming to hold on tighter. Next Saturday, he asked Angela who'd come to oversee the pickup. Next Saturday. And Marcus, I'm recommending to the judge that visits be increased to weekly. You're doing really well. After they left, Marcus sat in the empty yellow room feeling hollowed out. Ray picked him up 20 minutes later and drove him back to the garage in comfortable silence. You know what I think, Ray said as they pulled into the lot. I think you're going to be okay, both of you. How can you know that? Because I've seen a lot of broken kids come through this garage over the years. My brother brings them around, gives them work, tries to help. Some of them heal. Some of them don't. Ray turned off the engine. You're one of the ones who will, I can tell. What's the difference? The ones who heal are the ones who let people in. The ones who accept help instead of running from it. Ray's smile was warm. You're scared and hurt and dealing with trauma most adults couldn't handle. But you're still here, still showing up, still fighting. That's what makes the difference. Sunday brought another group ride, this one bigger than the last. 32 bikers showed up, including some from neighboring chapters who'd heard about the kid who took a knife for one of their own. A biker from Fresno, built like a small mountain with a gray beard down to his chest, approached Marcus. You're the one who saved Ironside's daughter. Yes, sir. My daughter's 14, about Lily's age. The man's voice was gruff. Someone hurt her, and a stranger stepped in. Took a beating for her. I never got to thank him. He held out a meaty hand. So I'm thanking you instead. What you did that matters. Marcus shook his hand, overwhelmed. I just did what anyone would do. No, you did what most people wouldn't. And now you're family to every Hell's Angel in California. You understand what that means? Not really. It means you have brothers in every city, every chapter, every clubhouse from here to the border. You ever need help, you call. Someone will come. That's what family does. The ride took them up into the hills outside Bakersfield, away from the city, and into terrain that Marcus had only ever seen in pictures. They stopped at an overlook where you could see for miles, and the bikers spread out, some smoking, some talking, some just standing in comfortable silence. Tommy found Marcus sitting on a rock away from the group. You good little man. Just thinking. About how a month ago I was sleeping behind a dumpster, and now I'm here. Marcus gestured at the bikers, the bikes, the view. It doesn't feel real. It's real. You're just not used to good things happening yet. Tommy sat beside him. That'll change. Give it time. What if the judge says no next Friday? What if I can't see Keisha regularly? Then we appeal. We fight harder. We don't give up." Tommy's voice was certain. "But Marcus, I've seen the documentation David put together. I've read Dr. Williams' report and Angela's assessment. You have a strong case." "I'm 12 and living above a garage with a bunch of bikers. You're 12 and living in stable housing with a strong support system, pursuing education and demonstrating responsibility beyond your years. That's how the court will see it." Marcus wanted to believe him. He wanted to believe all of them, Ray and Rosa and Ironside and Angela, and everyone who kept telling him it was going to be okay. That night alone in his apartment, Marcus pulled out his phone and looked at the photos. Keisha's drawings, the bikers at the Overlook, Lily making faces during dinner, Tommy demonstrating a kick in fighting class, Ray under a car leg sticking out giving a thumbs up, Ironside and Rosa dancing in their kitchen while Lily groaned with embarrassment. This was his life now. These were his people. And for the first time since running away, Marcus let himself imagine a future that wasn't just survival. A future where Keisha lived with him eventually, where he graduated high school, maybe even went to college, where the nightmares faded and the guilt loosened its grip. A future where a scared 12-year-old kid, who'd been invisible for most of his life, got to be visible, valued, and loved. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Jasmine from fighting class. Tommy gave me your number. Group of us are going to the arcade tomorrow after school. Want to come?" Marcus stared at the message. A month ago, he had no friends, no home, no future. Now a girl from fighting class was inviting him to the arcade like he was normal, like he was just another kid. He typed back, "Yeah, what time?" "4. Meet at Tommy's gym. I'll be there. I'll be." Monday morning, Ray handed Marcus an envelope. "What's this?" "Your first official paycheck. Figured it was time to make it formal." Marcus opened it and stared at the check. $160. More money than he'd ever earned in his life. "This is too much. You said 20 a week." "That was before you learned to change oil, rotate tires, and organize my entire parts inventory. You earned it." Ray's smile was proud. "Plus there's a bonus from Ironside. He wanted to make sure you had new clothes for court." Marcus's vision blurred. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll spend some of it on yourself. Get something you want, not just what you need." That afternoon, after tutoring with Kim, where he finally mastered fractions and earned genuine praise, Marcus went to the arcade with Jasmine and 3 other kids from fighting class. They played basketball shootout and racing games and ate pizza that was mostly grease and entirely delicious. "You're good at this," Jasmine said as Marcus scored another basket. "You play sports. Never had the chance. You should try out for something when you enroll in school. Basketball maybe, or track." She launched her own shot, missing by inches. "You're fast. I can tell from sparring." "Maybe." The idea of being on a team, of being part of something official and structured, was both terrifying and exciting. They left the arcade at 6, and Marcus realized he'd gone 3 whole hours without thinking about court or Keisha or any of the weight he usually carried. He'd just been a kid hanging out with other kids, and it felt revolutionary. Walking back to the garage, he passed the convenience store where it had all started. The broken queue and the quick stop sign had been fixed. The building looked different in daylight, smaller, less threatening. Marcus stood outside for a moment, remembering the night that changed everything. "Hey, you're that kid." Marcus turned. The clerk, Debbie, stood in the doorway. "Yeah, I'm Marcus. I saw the news about Jake Thornton, about the trial. I've been subpoenaed to testify." Debbie stepped outside, pulling a cigarette from her pocket. "I wanted to tell you what you did that night was the bravest thing I've ever seen. And I'm 53. I've seen a lot. I was just scared. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing anyway." She lit her cigarette, took a drag. "That girl Lily, she came by last week, wanted to thank me for calling the cops. We got to talking and she told me about you, about how you've been doing. I'm okay. You're more than okay. You're a good kid in a world that needed one." Debbie smiled through smoke. "You take care of yourself, Marcus Thompson, and keep being brave. God knows we need more of it." Marcus walked back to the garage with Debbie's words echoing in his head. Keep being brave. As if bravery was something he possessed inherently rather than something he'd stumbled into by accident. Tuesday's fighting class was different. Tommy paired everyone up for full contact sparring with protective gear, and Marcus found himself facing a kid named Derek, who was at least 3 inches taller and 20 pounds heavier. "Don't go easy on him because he's small," Tommy instructed Derek. "He can handle it." The sparring match was brutal and exhilarating. Marcus got knocked down twice, but he got back up both times, remembering everything Tommy had taught him about using speed over strength. By the end, he'd landed 3 solid hits and earned a fist bump from Derek. "You're tougher than you look," Derek said, breathing hard. "I've had practice." After class, Tommy pulled Marcus aside. "You did good today, real good. I'm moving you up to intermediate level starting next week. Already? You're ready. You've got natural instinct, and you're not afraid to get hit." Tommy's eyes were serious. "Just remember what I said, real fighting is ugly. What we do here is controlled. Out there, anything goes. Your best defense is always avoiding the fight in the first place." "I know." "Do you?" "Because I've seen the look in your eyes sometimes, like you're waiting for the next threat, like you're ready to fight everyone." Tommy crouched down. "Marcus, I need you to hear this. You survived something terrible, but you don't have to stay in survival mode forever. Eventually, you have to learn to live." That night, Marcus lay in bed thinking about Tommy's words. Survival mode had kept him alive for years in Dontrell's house on the streets through the knife attack. But maybe it was time to let it go. Maybe it was time to trust that the world wasn't always out to hurt him. His phone buzzed. A text from Lily. "Can't sleep. You up?" "Yeah," she called immediately. "Court's in 3 days." "I know." "You nervous?" "Terrified." "Me too. Not for me, but for you." Lily's voice was soft. "I keep thinking about how much you've been through, and how unfair it would be if the judge said no. Life's unfair a lot. Yeah, but it doesn't have to stay that way. Sometimes things work out. Sometimes good people catch a break. You really believe that?" "I have to, otherwise what's the point?" Lily was quiet for a moment. "Marcus, no matter what happens Friday, you're still my brother. That doesn't change." "Thanks, Lily." "I'm serious. You saved my life. That makes us bonded forever. You're stuck with me." After they hung up, Marcus felt the fear loosen its grip just a little. Whatever happened Friday, he wasn't alone. He had people who would fight for him, who believed in him, who saw him not as a problem to solve, but as a person worth fighting for. Thursday crawled by in a haze of nervous energy. Marcus couldn't focus on work, on tutoring, on anything. David Chen stopped by the garage to prep him for court. "The judge will ask you questions about your living situation, your education, your relationship with Keisha. Answer honestly and respectfully. Don't elaborate unless asked." And Marcus, David's expression was kind. "Don't be afraid to show emotion. The court needs to see that you care about your sister, that this matters to you. It's all that matters." "I know, and we're going to show them that." That night, Rosa came by with a suit for Marcus to wear to court. It was slightly too big, but she'd had it altered to fit as close as possible. "You're going to look so handsome," she said, fussing with the collar, "like a young professional." "I'm 12. And you're going in front of a judge to fight for your sister. That makes you a warrior, baby. Warriors dress for battle." Marcus tried on the suit and barely recognized himself in the mirror. He looked older, more serious, like someone who could handle responsibility. "Thank you," he said to Rosa, "for everything." "You don't have to thank me. This is what family does." She straightened his tie one more time. "Now get some sleep. Tomorrow's a big day." Sleep didn't come. Marcus lay awake all night playing out every possible scenario. The judge saying yes, the judge saying no, the judge saying maybe come back in 6 months. By the time dawn broke, he was exhausted and wired simultaneously. Ray drove him to the courthouse at 8 a.m. Ironside, Rosa, Tommy, Lily, and David were already there, forming a wall of support that made Marcus's throat tight. "Ready?" David asked. Marcus looked at the people who'd shown up for him then at the courthouse doors. "No, but let's do it anyway." They walked inside together, and Marcus thought about bravery. Real bravery, the kind that showed up even when you were terrified. The kind that said, "I'm scared, but I'm doing this anyway." The kind he'd shown the night he stepped between Lily and a knife. The kind he was showing now. The courtroom was smaller than Marcus expected, with wood paneling that made everything feel enclosed and serious. Judge Patricia Morrison sat behind the bench, a black woman in her 60s with silver hair and eyes that looked like they'd seen every kind of human story there was. She reviewed papers while they waited, and Marcus counted his heartbeats, 97, before she finally looked up. This is a hearing to determine visitation rights for Marcus Thompson, age 12, with his sister Keisha Thompson, age 8, currently in foster care. Mr. Chen, you're representing Marcus. David stood. Yes, Your Honor. And the state is represented by Ms. Patterson. A woman in a gray suit stood. Yes, Your Honor. Before we begin, I want to make something clear. Judge Morrison's voice carried authority that made Marcus sit straighter. This isn't about what's convenient or what makes the adults comfortable. This is about what's best for Keisha Thompson. Everything else is secondary. Understood. A chorus of "Yes, Your Honor" filled the room. Good. Mr. Chen, present your case. David opened his folder with steady hands. Your Honor, Marcus Thompson is here today fighting for the right to maintain a relationship with his younger sister. He's not asking for custody. He understands he's legally too young for that responsibility. He's asking for regular supervised visitation so that two siblings who survived a traumatic home environment together can continue to support each other's healing. The court has read Ms. Chen's report, Judge Morrison said. It indicates Marcus himself ran away from home due to domestic violence. Mr. Thompson is that accurate. Marcus's throat was sandpaper dry. Yes, ma'am. Stand when addressing the court, please. Marcus shot to his feet so fast he nearly knocked over his chair. Yes, Your Honor. Sorry. Tell me why you ran away. The question hung in the air like a blade. Marcus looked at David, who nodded encouragement. My mama's boyfriend, Dontrell, he was violent. He drank a lot, and when he drank, he got mean. He'd hit my mama, hit me, and he started going after Keisha, too. Marcus's voice shook but held. I tried to protect her, put myself between them when I could, but I was too small, too weak. And then one night, Dontrell threw me into a cabinet so hard the wood broke. I was bleeding, and I realized if I stayed, he was going to kill me eventually, so I ran. And left your sister behind. The words were neutral, but they landed like punches. Yes, Your Honor. I left her behind. Why didn't you take her with you? I was 12 with no money and nowhere to go. I didn't know how to take care of myself, let alone an 8-year-old. Marcus's hands trembled. I thought about it. Every night I was on the streets, I thought about going back for her. But I knew if I went back, Dontrell would hurt us both worse than before. So you left her in a dangerous situation to save yourself. Ms. Patterson, the state's attorney, stood. Your Honor, I think that's exactly what concerns the state. Marcus made a choice to prioritize his own safety over his sister's. What happens the next time he's faced with a difficult choice? Will he run again? David was on his feet immediately. Your Honor, that's an unfair characterization. Marcus was a child in crisis making an impossible choice. Moreover, his actions directly led to Keisha's rescue. After getting himself to safety, he connected with people who could intervene properly. The police investigation that removed Keisha from that home was triggered by Marcus's case. Is that true, Ms. Patterson? Judge Morrison asked. Ms. Patterson consulted her notes. According to the file, yes. A teacher noticed bruising on Keisha's arm approximately 1 week after Marcus left. The child disclosed that Dontrell had grabbed her and blamed her for Marcus running away. Investigation revealed a pattern of abuse. So Marcus's departure, while painful, ultimately saved both children. Judge Morrison made a note. What's the state's concern with visitation? Stability, Your Honor. Marcus is currently living above an auto garage. His guardian is the president of a motorcycle club with documented criminal associations, and he's not enrolled in school. He's receiving tutoring, David interjected, and will be enrolled once his academic assessment is complete. As for his living situation, Marcus has stable housing employment appropriate for his age and a strong support system. The Hells Angels connection is not relevant to his ability to maintain a healthy relationship with his sister. Not relevant. Ms. Patterson's voice rose slightly. Your Honor, these are not Boy Scouts. The Hells Angels have been investigated for drug trafficking, assault, and And none of those investigations have resulted in charges against anyone in this courtroom, David said firmly. Vicente Martinez, who's here today supporting Marcus, is a decorated Marine veteran with an honorable discharge. His brother, Ray Martinez, who employs Marcus, has no criminal record. We're talking about a community that rallied around a child in need, not a criminal enterprise. Judge Morrison held up a hand. I'll decide what's relevant. Ms. Chen, you've conducted multiple home visits. What's your professional assessment? Angela stood from the gallery. Your Honor, my initial concerns about the unconventional living situation have been largely alleviated. Marcus is in stable housing with appropriate supervision. He's pursuing education and demonstrating responsibility. Most importantly, the bond between Marcus and Keisha is strong and healthy. Their visits have been positive for both children. How positive? Keisha's nightmares have decreased significantly since visitation started. Her foster parents report she's more settled, less anxious. Dr. Williams, who's evaluated both children, believes maintaining the sibling relationship is crucial for their healing. Dr. Williams is here. Judge Morrison looked toward the gallery. Dr. Williams stood. Yes, Your Honor. Give me your professional opinion in 30 seconds or less. These children survived trauma together. Separating them completely would compound that trauma. Marcus has shown remarkable resilience and maturity. Supervised visitation poses no risk to Keisha and provides significant emotional benefit to both siblings. Judge Morrison leaned back, studying Marcus with an intensity that made him want to disappear. Mr. Thompson, what do you want? Marcus's mind went blank. Your Honor. It's a simple question. What do you want from this hearing? I want to see my sister, regular like every week. I want her to know I didn't abandon her, that I'm working to build something good so maybe someday when I'm old enough I can take care of her properly. Marcus's voice cracked. I want her to have what I did in a brother who shows up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Judge Morrison was silent for a long moment. Then she addressed Ms. Patterson. The state has reservations, but you're not recommending against visitation, correct? We're recommending supervised visitation, only limited duration with regular assessments. Mr. Chen, what are you asking for? Weekly supervised visits of 2 hours with reassessment in 3 months for possible unsupervised visitation. That's ambitious given the circumstances. It's appropriate given the bond between these siblings and Marcus's demonstrated stability. Judge Morrison flipped through her papers again. The silence stretched until Marcus thought he might scream from the tension. Here's what's going to happen, the judge finally said. Weekly supervised visitation, 2 hours at the CPS office. I'm also ordering family therapy for both children to process their shared trauma. In 6 months, not 3, we'll reassess for possible unsupervised visits. Additionally, Marcus will be required to maintain his educational progress and housing stability. Any backsliding and we revisit everything. Clear. Marcus's knees buckled with relief. David caught his arm. Your Honor. David said thank you. My client accepts those terms. I assumed he would. Judge Morrison's expression softened just slightly. Mr. Thompson, I'm going to say something off the record. You did what you had to do to survive. That took courage. But courage alone isn't enough. You need to prove you can build a stable life, not just survive. Can you do that? Marcus stood straight, despite his shaking legs. Yes, Your Honor, I can. Then don't let me down. Don't let your sister down. Judge Morrison struck her gavel. Visitation order granted. Next review in 6 months. We're adjourned. The gavel's bang echoed, and suddenly Ironside was hugging Marcus, and Rosa was crying, and Lily was laughing, and Tommy was lifting him off the ground, spinning him around while David tried to maintain professional dignity and failed. You did it, little man. Tommy set him down. You actually did it. Marcus couldn't speak. His throat was too tight, his eyes burning with tears he wouldn't let fall until they were outside. In the courthouse hallway, Angela found him. I'm proud of you, Marcus. You handled that with remarkable maturity. I was terrified. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. She smiled. I'll coordinate with Keisha's foster family. First visit under the new order will be this Saturday as usual, but now we have a structure in place. You're building something real here. After Angela left, Marcus finally let the tears come. He turned into Ironside's chest and sobbed relief and fear and hope, all mixed together in a way that hurt and healed simultaneously. "It's okay, kid," Ironside said quietly. "Let it out. You earned this." They went to lunch at a diner, where the waitress took one look at their group and sighed dramatically before pushing 3 tables together. Marcus couldn't eat, his stomach still twisted in knots, but Rosa kept putting food on his plate anyway. "You need to eat," she insisted. "You didn't have breakfast." "I can't. I'm too—" Marcus gestured helplessly at his chest. "Everything's too big." "That's adrenaline crash," Tommy said. "Drink water at least. Stay hydrated." David raised his coffee cup. "To Marcus Thompson, who fought for his family and won." "To Marcus," everyone echoed, and Marcus hid his face in his hands. "Can we not?" he mumbled. "Absolutely not," Lily said. "You're a hero. Deal with it." "I'm not a hero. I'm just a kid who loves his sister." "Same thing," Ironside said. "Heroes are just people who refuse to give up on what matters." That afternoon back at the garage, Marcus finally crashed. He slept for 4 hours straight, dreamless and deep, and woke to his phone buzzing with messages. Jasmine from fighting class. "Tommy told us about court, congrats. Kim the tutor." "So proud of you, Marcus. See you Monday." Even people he barely knew had texted bikers from other chapters. Rosa's friends, Ray's customers who'd heard the story. But the message that made him cry again was from Keisha. "Miss Rachel says I get to see you every week now forever. I love you so much." Marcus typed back with shaking fingers. "I love you too, baby girl. See you Saturday." Saturday came with clear skies and nervous anticipation. Marcus arrived at the CPS office 20 minutes early, wearing one of the shirts Tommy had given him and shoes Ray had bought him that actually fit. When Keisha walked in, she was carrying a shoebox covered in stickers. "I made you something," she said, thrusting the box at him before even saying hello. Inside were drawings, notes, and a bracelet made of plastic beads that spelled out, "Best Brother." "Keish, this is—" Marcus couldn't finish the sentence. "Miss Rachel helped with the bracelet. I did the rest myself." She climbed into his lap like she used to when she was tiny. "Are you really going to come every week?" "Every week. The judge said so. It's official. Even when you're busy. Even when I'm busy. Even when it's hard. Even when it's raining or I'm tired or anything else. Every single week." Marcus held her close. "I promise." They spent the 2 hours coloring, talking, and playing with the toys in the corner. Keisha told him about school. She was in 3rd grade, now catching up fast after missing so much. She had a best friend named Maria who liked the same cartoons she did. She was learning to read chapter books. "Miss Rachel says if I keep doing good, maybe I can get a dog of my own someday. Not just Biscuit, but my very own dog. That would be amazing. Could I bring my dog to visit you?" Marcus thought about the tiny apartment, the steep stairs. "Maybe we'd have to meet at a park or something." "Okay." Keisha seemed satisfied with that. Then her expression turned serious. "Marcus, are you happy where you live?" "Yeah, I am. The people there are good to me. Really good." "Do they hurt you?" "Never. Not once." "Good." Keisha's small hand patted his cheek. "Because if anyone hurts you, I'll tell the judge and she'll make them stop." Marcus laughed through tears. "You're fierce, you know that. I learned from you." When the visit ended, saying goodbye was still hard but different than before. This wasn't a final goodbye. It was just see you next week, and that made all the difference. Sunday brought another group ride, but this one was special. Ironside had called a full chapter meeting, which meant all 68 members showed up, plus prospects and associates. The parking lot was a sea of leather and chrome. Marcus felt intimidated until Tommy grabbed his shoulder. "This one's for you, little man." "What do you mean?" "You'll see." They gathered in a loose circle, engines off, and Ironside stood at the center. Most of you know the story by now. A month ago, this kid standing here saved my daughter's life. Took a knife to the hand doing it. Since then, Marcus has shown up, worked hard, and fought like hell to keep his family together. He's earned respect. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. "Hell's Angels don't hand out membership to just anyone," Ironside continued. You got to be 18 minimum. Got to prove yourself, got to earn your place. But we do have something called honorary family. And today the chapter voted unanimous to make Marcus Thompson honorary family of the Hells Angels West chapter. Marcus's breath caught. What does that mean? Steele stepped forward, holding something wrapped in black cloth. It means you're under our protection. Permanently. Anyone messes with you, they mess with all of us. He unwrapped the cloth, revealing a leather vest smaller than the adult versions, but unmistakably Hells Angels. The back had the skull and wings, but instead of the usual patches, it said, Honorary Family across the top and Little Brother across the bottom. We had it made special, Tommy said. You don't have to wear it if you don't want to. But if you do, everyone who sees it will know you're one of ours. Marcus took the vest with trembling hands. It was soft, worn leather that someone had clearly treated carefully. He put it on, and it fit perfectly. The bikers erupted in cheers and applause. One by one they approached him, some shaking his hand, others pulling him into rough hugs, all of them welcoming him into something bigger than himself. You look good, kid, Ironside said when the noise died down. Like you belong. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Just remember you're family now. That means something. That means everything. They rode that day with Marcus wearing his vest, Tommy making sure he was positioned in the safest part of the formation. People stared as they passed, some fearful, some curious, some hostile. But Marcus felt protected in a way he'd never experienced before. At the rest stop, Razor pulled him aside. You know wearing that vest makes you a target for people who don't like the club, right? I know. And you're going to wear it anyway. Marcus thought about invisibility, about the years he'd spent trying to disappear. Yeah, I'm going to wear it anyway. Razor smiled. Good. Welcome to the family, little brother. Monday brought tutoring with Kim, who took one look at his vest and raised her eyebrows. That's new. The club gave it to me. Made me honorary family. How do you feel about that? Marcus considered the question honestly. Proud. Scared. Like I have to live up to something big. You saved someone's life and fought for your sister in court. I think you're already living up to it. Kim pulled out his workbooks. Now let's tackle long division so you're living up to 7th grade math too. The session went better than usual. Marcus's concentration was sharper, his confidence higher. When he got a particularly difficult problem right, Kim literally applauded. You're ready, she said at the end. Ready for what? School, real school. I'm recommending to Angela that you enroll next month. Kim's smile was proud. You've caught up faster than I expected. You're going to do great. Tuesday's fighting class brought a surprise. Tommy had Marcus demonstrate techniques to the newer students, positioning him as someone to learn from. This is Marcus, Tommy announced. He's been training for 6 weeks. I want you to watch how he moves efficient. No wasted energy, always thinking 3 moves ahead. Marcus felt his face heat as he demonstrated blocks and strikes. But when the younger kids watched with admiration instead of mockery, something loosened in his chest. He wasn't just the kid who got beat up by his mama's boyfriend anymore. He was the kid who learned to fight back, who got stronger, who didn't let his past define his future. After class, Jasmine approached with 2 other kids from the advanced group. We're going to the movies Friday night. You want to come? I have family dinner at Lily's. Bring her, the more the merrier. Jasmine grinned. Come on, Marcus. You can't just work and train and be serious all the time. You're 12. Act like it sometimes. Marcus laughed. Okay, I'll ask. And that night he texted Lily. Want to go to movies Friday with some kids from fighting class? Her response was immediate. Yes, I'm tired of being stuck at home. What are we seeing? No idea, I'll ask. Don't care, just want to do something normal. Then another text. Can you believe we're almost normal kids now? Marcus thought about that. A month ago, normal seemed impossible, a thing other people had, but he never would. Now he had weekly visits with Keisha, a family of bikers who'd die for him, friends inviting him to movies, and a future that didn't revolve around survival. He typed back, yeah, I can believe it. Wednesday brought unexpected news. Marcus was helping Ray replace a transmission when Angela's car pulled into the lot. That's not her scheduled day, Ray muttered. Hope everything's okay. Angela emerged looking serious, and Marcus's stomach dropped. Is Keisha okay? Keisha's fine. I actually have news about your mother. Marcus set down his wrench carefully. What about her? She entered a plea deal yesterday, testified against Dontrell in exchange for probation and mandatory rehab. Dontrell got 8 years. 8 years. Marcus tried to process what that meant. He's going to prison. Yes, and he's on the registry for child abuse. He won't be able to work with kids or live near schools. When he gets out, if he gets out early, he'll be monitored. What about my mama? Angela's expression softened. She wants to see you and Keisha. She's asking for supervised visitation. Marcus's hands started shaking. No. Marcus, no. She chose him over us. Every single time she chose him. She let him hurt us, and she did nothing. Marcus's voice rose. I don't want to see her. I don't want Keisha seeing her. That's not your decision alone. Keisha has a say too. Angela's voice was gentle but firm. Your mother made terrible choices, but she's still your mother, and she's working on getting help. Too little, too late. Maybe. Maybe not. Angela pulled out a card. This is a family therapist who specializes in reunification cases. I think you and Keisha should talk to her before making any decisions. Marcus took the card but didn't look at it. After Angela left, he stood in the garage feeling like the ground had shifted under his feet. Ray found him 20 minutes later still frozen in the same spot. You okay? My mama wants to see us. What do you want? I want her to not exist. I want to rewrite history, so she was a good mom who protected us instead of letting her boyfriend beat us. Marcus's voice broke. But I can't have that, so I don't know what I want. That's okay. You don't have to know right now. Ray guided him to sit on a work stool. But Marcus, I'm going to tell you something. When I was 16, my dad beat me so bad I ended up in the hospital. I didn't talk to him for 10 years, not one word. Did you forgive him? Eventually. Not because he deserved it, but because carrying that anger was killing me. I had to let it go to move forward. Ray's eyes were distant. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Doesn't mean letting him back into my life. It just meant I stopped letting him control my future. I don't know if I can forgive her. You don't have to decide that today, or tomorrow, or next month. Take your time, talk to the therapist, figure out what you need. Ray's hand squeezed his shoulder. Just don't let her choices define yours. That night, Marcus lay in bed staring at the therapist's card. Dr. Sarah Martinez, no relation to Ironside and Rosa, apparently. Specialized in family trauma and reunification. His phone buzzed. Keisha. Miss Rachel told me about Mama. Do you want to see her? Marcus stared at the text for a long time before responding. I don't know. Do you? I don't know either. I'm mad at her, but I miss her. Is that stupid? No, it's not stupid. Can we decide together? Marcus felt something crack open in his chest. Yeah, Keish. We can decide together. Friday's movie outing was exactly what Marcus needed. 2 hours of not thinking about mothers, or courts, or trauma, just watching explosions on screen with Lily and Jasmine and 3 other kids who treated him like he was normal. They got pizza after, and Lily told embarrassing stories about her dad that made everyone laugh. He tried to teach me to ride a motorcycle when I was 10, she said. I crashed into the clubhouse and knocked over his bike. He didn't let me try again until I was 15. Your dad's Ironside Martinez, one of the kids a boy named Chris asked with wide eyes. Like the actual president. Yeah, why? Because my uncle talks about him like he's some kind of legend. Says Ironside once fought off 5 guys outside a bar. Lily rolled her eyes. It was 3 guys, and they started it. My dad's not scary unless you give him a reason to be. Marcus thought about Ironside holding him while he cried about the gentleness in his rough hands. He's a good guy. The best, Lily agreed, even if he is embarrassing. Walking back to the garage later, Lily looped her arm through Marcus's. This was fun. We should do it again. Yeah, we should. Marcus, can I ask you something? Sure. Are you going to see your mom? Marcus sighed. I don't know. Part of me wants to yell at her for everything she let happen. Part of me just wants to pretend she doesn't exist. And there's this tiny part that still misses her even though she doesn't deserve it. That tiny part isn't wrong for existing. She's still your mom even if she was a bad one. Lily was quiet for a moment. My mom left when I was 8. I used to hate her for it. Then I realized hating her was taking up space in my brain that I could use for better things, so I just let her go. Do you miss her? Sometimes. But I have Rosa now, and she's more of a mom than my biological mother ever was. Blood doesn't make family showing up, does. Saturday's visit with Keisha started with both of them sitting in uncomfortable silence while the social worker pretended to be invisible in the corner. So, Marcus finally said, Mama. Yeah. Keisha picked at her shoelaces. Miss Rachel says we should talk to the therapist before deciding. Angela said the same thing. Do you think Mama's really getting help? I don't know. I hope so. For her sake, not ours. Marcus took Keisha's hand. But Keish, even if she gets better, even if she becomes the best version of herself, that doesn't erase what she let happen to us. I know. So whatever we decide together. And if you want to see her and I don't, or the other way around, that's okay. We don't have to agree. Keisha leaned against his shoulder. Can I tell you something? Always. I'm scared if I see her, I'll want her to be my mom again. Like really be my mom, the kind who protects you and loves you right. And I'm scared she can't be that person. Marcus wrapped his arm around her. Me too, baby girl. Me too. They spent the rest of the visit avoiding the subject, entirely playing games and reading books, until it was time to say goodbye. When Marcus walked out, Angela was waiting. I've scheduled you both with Dr. Martinez next Thursday after school. Separate sessions first, then together. That work? Do we have a choice? Not really. Judge Morrison wants documentation that you're both processing this healthily before she considers any maternal visitation. Angela's expression was sympathetic. I know this is hard, Marcus, but running from it won't make it go away. The following Thursday, Marcus sat in Dr. Martinez's office, a room painted soft blue with comfortable chairs and tissue boxes strategically placed. Dr. Martinez was young, maybe 30, with kind eyes and an easy smile. Marcus, I'm not here to tell you what to feel or what to decide. I'm here to help you process those feelings so you can make the best choice for yourself. Everyone keeps saying that, but nobody tells me how to actually do it. Because there's no manual. Every person's healing looks different. Dr. Martinez leaned back. Tell me about your mother. Marcus talked for an hour straight. About his mama before Dontrell when she'd sung to him and Keisha and made them breakfast on Sundays. About watching her change, becoming someone he didn't recognize, choosing a man over her children again and again. About the guilt, the anger, the grief for the mother he'd lost long before he ran away. When the session ended, Marcus felt wrung out, but somehow lighter. Same time next week, Dr. Martinez said. And Marcus, what you're feeling, all of it is valid. Don't let anyone tell you different. The weeks that followed established a new rhythm. Visits with Keisha every Saturday. Fighting class Tuesday and Thursday. Tutoring Monday and Friday. Family dinners at the Martinez house. Therapy Thursdays. Garage work filling the gaps between. Marcus was busy in a way that felt purposeful rather than overwhelming. He was building something, a life, a future, a version of himself that wasn't defined by trauma. His 13th birthday came on a Tuesday, and Marcus woke to find his apartment decorated with streamers and a card signed by every member of the Hells Angels West chapter. Rosa had made a cake that Ray carried up the stairs, and Tommy had gotten him new boxing gloves with his name stitched on them. You're a teenager now, Lily announced at the dinner table that night. That means you're officially too cool for us. I was never cool. True, she agreed cheerfully. But now you're an uncool teenager instead of an uncool kid. It's an important distinction. Keisha's present arrived by mail, a drawing of the two of them holding hands with the words, "Best brother in the whole world," written in her careful handwriting. Marcus hung it on his wall where he could see it every morning. At his next therapy session, Dr. Martinez brought up the topic Marcus had been avoiding. "Have you thought more about seeing your mother every day? And I don't know if I can forgive her. I don't know if I want to." Marcus stared at his hands. "But I also don't want to carry this anger forever. It's heavy. Forgiveness isn't something you do once. It's a process, sometimes a lifelong one. And it doesn't mean reconciliation. You can forgive someone and still choose not to have them in your life." "Is that what you think I should do?" "I think you should do whatever feels right for you and Keisha. But Marcus, I also think you should consider meeting with your mother once. Just once in a controlled environment with support. Not to reconcile, but to say what you need to say." "What if I say it and nothing changes?" "Then nothing changes, but at least you'll have said it." Marcus thought about it for 3 days before texting Angela. "Okay, I'll see her. One time. Supervised. Keisha decides for herself." The visit was scheduled for 2 weeks out in a CPS conference room with a social worker present. Marcus spent those 2 weeks feeling like he was walking toward an execution. The night before, Ironside found him sitting on the garage steps. Nervous about tomorrow. Terrified. "Want some advice? Please." Ironside sat beside him, the metal stairs creaking under his weight. "When I first got sober, I had to face my old man. Man who'd beaten me, driven me to pills, made me feel worthless my whole life. I was 25 and still scared of him. What did you do?" I told him the truth. Told him he'd hurt me, that I didn't forgive him, that I was done letting him control my life. He cried, apologized, said he'd change. And you know what I did? What? I walked out because I didn't owe him forgiveness. I didn't owe him a relationship. I owed myself peace, and that meant cutting him out. Ironside's voice was firm. "You don't owe your mother anything, Marcus. Not forgiveness, not understanding, not a second chance. You owe yourself the truth and the freedom to move forward." The next morning arrived too fast. Marcus wore his Hells Angels vest like armor, and Ray drove him to the CPS office where his mother waited. She looked smaller than he remembered. Thinner, older, with gray in her hair that hadn't been there before. When she saw him, she started crying. "Marcus, baby, don't call me that." His voice came out colder than intended. "You lost that right." The social worker shifted uncomfortably. "Ms. Thompson, remember the guidelines. Let Marcus speak first." Marcus sat across from his mother, separated by a table that felt like an ocean. He'd rehearsed this moment 100 times in his head, but now that it was happening, the words stuck in his throat. "You let him hurt us," he finally said. "You watched him hit me, throw me around, terrorize Keisha, and you did nothing. You chose him over us every single time." "I was scared," his mother whispered. "He said he'd kill me if I left. So you let him kill us instead, slowly, piece by piece, until there was nothing left." Marcus's hands were shaking. "I was 12 years old and I had to run away to survive. Keisha was 8 and got grabbed so hard she bruised because you couldn't protect her. We were your children and you failed us." "I know." His mother's tears fell freely now. "I know I did. And I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix it. Sorry doesn't undo the years of fear and pain. Sorry doesn't give me back my childhood." Marcus stood his chair, scraping loud in the small room. "I came here to say this. I don't forgive you. Maybe I will someday, maybe I won't, but right now I can't. And I don't want you in my life. Please, Marcus, I'm getting help. I'm in rehab. I'm seeing a therapist. I'm trying to be better. Good, be better for yourself. But you don't get to be better for me. That chance is gone." Marcus looked at the social worker. "I'm done here." Outside, Ray was waiting by the truck. He took one look at Marcus's face and pulled him into a hug. "You okay?" "No, but I will be." That night, surrounded by his chosen family at the Martinez house, Marcus felt the weight he'd been carrying lift just slightly. He'd faced his mother, said his truth, and walked away. He'd chosen himself. Keisha called during dessert, and Marcus stepped outside to answer. "How did it go?" she asked. "Hard, really hard, but I said what I needed to say." Marcus leaned against the porch railing. Did you decide about seeing her? Yeah. I want to. Just once like you did. Keisha's voice was small but determined. Is that okay? It's your choice, Keish. I'll support whatever you decide. Will you come with me? If they let me, I'll be right there. After hanging up, Marcus stood under the stars thinking about family, the one you're born into and the one you choose. He thought about Ironside and Rosa, who'd opened their home to a stranger. About Ray, who'd given him work and purpose. About Tommy, who'd taught him to fight and to heal. About Lily, who'd become the sister he'd always needed. About 68 bikers who'd made him family. He thought about Keisha, who'd survived and was learning to thrive, who'd chosen to face their mother even though it scared her. And he thought about himself, a 13-year-old kid who'd been invisible for most of his life and was now visible, valued, and loved. The porch door opened and Lily appeared with 2 slices of cake. Figured you could use sugar and company. You figured right. Marcus took a plate. Thanks for being here. Where else would I be? You're my brother. That's not changing. Lily bumped his shoulder with hers. Besides, someone has to keep you from getting too serious all the time. Marcus laughed, surprised he still could after the day he'd had. I'm going to be okay, aren't I? More than okay. You're going to be amazing. Lily's voice was certain. You already are. 3 months later, Marcus stood in the principal's office of Bakersfield Middle School, officially enrolling in 7th grade. He'd passed all his assessments, and Kim had written a glowing recommendation. You'll be starting Monday, Principal Davis said. Any concerns? Marcus thought about all the concerns he could have being behind being different, wearing a Hells Angels vest to school. But then, he thought about everything he'd survived, everything he'd overcome. No, ma'am. No concerns. That Saturday's visit with Keisha brought news. She'd been officially adopted by Rachel and Tom, her foster parents. She had a permanent home, a permanent family, and a dog named Biscuit, who was now officially hers. Are you sad? She asked Marcus. That I got adopted? No, baby girl. I'm happy. You deserve a family who loves you right. Marcus hugged her tight. And you'll still see me every week. That's not changing. Promise. Promise. You're stuck with me forever. As the months passed, Marcus's life settled into something he'd never thought possible normal. He attended school, made friends, got decent grades. He continued fighting classes and earned his first belt. He worked at the garage and learned to rebuild engines. He attended family dinners and group rides and slowly, painfully learned to accept love without waiting for the other shoe to drop. The court hearing 6 months after the initial ruling brought the best news yet. Judge Morrison granted unsupervised visitation, and Marcus got to take Keisha to the movies, to the park, to his apartment where she delighted in everything. This is your whole place? She asked, spinning in circles. Just yours. Just mine. Ray says when I turn 16, if I'm still here, he'll help me get a car. A car? Can I ride in it? Every single time. On Marcus's 14th birthday, the Hells Angels threw a party at the clubhouse, a massive gathering with food and music and more people than Marcus had ever seen in one place. Keisha came with Rachel and Tom, and she ran straight to Marcus, throwing herself into his arms. Happy birthday, big brother. Thanks, baby girl. That night, as Marcus stood surrounded by family, biological, chosen, and earned, he thought about the scared 12-year-old who'd stood between a knife and a stranger because it was the right thing to do, who'd run away to survive, who'd fought for his sister and won. He thought about courage and healing and second chances. And he realized that sometimes the most important moments aren't the dramatic ones. They're the quiet ones, the daily choices to show up, to try to believe in better tomorrows. Ironside found him on the clubhouse steps, away from the noise. You good kid? Yeah, Marcus smiled. I'm really good. You know what I see when I look at you. Ironside sat beside him. I see someone who refused to let his past define his future. Someone who took the worst life, threw at him, and built something beautiful anyway. That's rare, Marcus. That's special. I had help. We all need help. That's not weakness, that's being human. Ironside's hand landed on Marcus's shoulder. You saved my daughter that night at the store. But you know what? You saved yourself too. By choosing courage over fear, by choosing connection over isolation, by choosing to fight for what matters. That's the real heroism. As Marcus looked out at the gathering at Keisha, dancing with Lily at Rosa, laughing with Ray at Tommy, arm wrestling 3 people at once at 68 bikers who'd become his family, he understood what Ironside meant. He'd been invisible for so long, and then in one moment, he'd chosen to be seen, to matter, to fight for someone who needed him. And in doing so, he'd found people who would fight for him right back. That was the real story, not about a knife or a courtroom or even a dramatic rescue. It was about a boy who learned that family isn't who you're born to, it's who shows up when it matters. About how courage isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to act anyway. About how healing isn't linear or easy, but it's possible with the right people beside you. Marcus Thompson had started as a runaway with nothing to lose. He'd become a brother, a fighter, a survivor, and most importantly, a kid who finally understood he was worth saving, not because of what he'd done, but because of who he was. And that made all the difference.